end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1 0 1 1 1 0 1 1 6
doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
That's my cue. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. Wow, this mic is a mess. Not that mic, the other mic. I'm here with your co-host, Frank Pierce. And we would like to say hello to all of you who might also have troubled minds. What's up, guys? It is Sunday night, and tonight that means it's story time. We have part 2 coming at you of a very old story, a very good story. We did part 1 on Twitch a couple weeks back. Well, this is part 2. That's right. If you were one of the few that were there at the Mel's Hole ceremony, the revisiting of Mel's Hole, let's say, on Twitch, this is part 2. We've got a lot of clips to get through, a lot of stuff to happen here, so let's do some of that. But yeah, wow, what a sprint, eh, Frank? Holy smokes, there's a lot of stuff here. Good job, man. No, Frank? That's all right.
Oh, no, I'm here. I was waiting for my music. I need my music before I start.
That's right.
You know that. That's in the contract.
That's right. My bad. I'm going to have to amend those contracts. All right, here we go. We're going to get through this stuff. But so this is part 2 of Mel's Hole, and here we go. This is your co-host, Frank Pierce.
There's the music, so I can start talking. Check that off on the checklist here. Okay. This is part 2, Mel's Hole. If you missed the first part, I don't blame you, because when we put it on YouTube, what did they do? They took it off immediately. Copyright nonsense, even though this is fair use, even though we talked over the whole thing, clipped it up, chopped it up, copyright strikes galore. So where can we find that? I don't even know. Where can we find part 1? If anyone out there is missing the greatest story ever told, which is Mel's Hole, where can we find part 1?
Part 1 has hit the podcast feed, so you won't find it on YouTube. I think Twitch is taking it down at this point, and everybody's taking it down as far as I'm aware. So it might be on DLive because they're, kind of the dirty of the internet. They're trying to catch up. I don't think it's on Facebook because we didn't put it there. Yeah, it's nowhere basically. So you can't find it. Go to the podcast feed. You can find it on SoundCloud, and it should be there now. So it takes a while sometimes to propagate to iTunes and all that crap. But if you want to find it right this second, it is on SoundCloud for sure. That's where you find it.
Well, there you go. And while you're there, you can leave a like or write a comment in, and enough of this shell nonsense. Let's get into the show. So this is the second part of the greatest story ever told. You remember this one? Were you shocked by some of the claims? Were you surprised by some of the stuff he said? I know I was. And we'll get into that. We'll do a brief recap for anyone who missed it. But let's do those shout outs.
Yeah, let's do it. We do have shout outs to get to. All right, so we got Timothy gets first on Facebook. What's happening? We got Justin. We got Fred. Thanks for being here, man. We got John, Christopher, Darwin. What's happening? Effing right, boys. Let's go. Jennifer from Vegas. What's happening? Charles, how are you? Leanne is here. Patrick from Salt Lake City. Let's see. We got, who else did I say? Eddie. What's happening, buddy? We'll get to the thoughts later. Maybe next episode. We got a lot to get to. Glenn is here tonight. Jeff is here tonight. We got Carolyn here. Thanks for being here, guys. We got Los from Texas. What's happening, buddy? We got Jose's here. We got Brad. We got Guy. We got, what did I say? I already said Brad. What's up, Kelly? Thanks for being here. We got Bill. Carolyn, again, can't watch. Facebook's being nasty. That's all right. Go to YouTube or some of the other ones, troubleminds.org. You can find them. Sherry's here. Thanks for being here, Sherry. DJ. Hello. Who else? Bill, I said. Manuel. And Wendy. Hi from Seattle, Washington. We also got MK Ultra on D-Live. What's up, buddy? Thanks for showing up here. And we got Richard on YouTube, and also Sarah and Juan Carlos. What's up? There we go. That catches us up. And Kyle and Philip from Southern Oregon. There we are. Go ahead and type them in. We'll squeeze you as we go, but we got to get to this information. There's a lot here. All right, let's start with a recap, Frank. What about Mel's hole? I was pretty surprised at some of the things that happened around that hole, too. So we got all kinds of maybe interdimensional business. This is a portal to a different place. Who the hell knows what's going on, but lots of good stuff.
Yeah, so here's the brief recap. This guy, he's up in the woods, he's on his property, and he notices that he has a hole in his backyard. And this hole is 9 feet in diameter, so quite a sizable hole. And, you know, the locals there been throwing stuff in it, throwing TV tubes, I think you said, throwing refrigerators, throwing all kind of garbage down the hole, trying to get rid of it. But the hole never filled up. This hole, they were throwing garbage down there for years. This hole never filled up. So he gets it in his head one day to start measuring the depth of this hole, see how deep it goes. And he starts lowering down fishing line, spool after spool after spool. And, you know, he goes so far as to weigh it and make sure it's not hitting the bottom. Attach some lifesavers to it. Remember that part? So if there's water down this hole, well, the lifesavers will melt. And when he pulls the line back up, he'll be able to see it. But there was no water down the hole either. Very surprising. And he keeps throwing stuff down the hole. There's no end to it. It's an endless hole. It's deeper than the deepest hole ever drilled. It's deeper than the Marianas Trench, which is in the ocean. So a very surprising story.
Yes, and some other supernatural happenings around the hole as well. So we had a resurrected dog, I believe. We had again some things that were maybe showing up that didn't exist in this, let's say, universe or this parallel dimension, like coins that were never minted, but somehow or somehow some way in this this story here. So yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff. So not only is it just a hole, right? Generically, you can call it a hole, but I would call it a fantastic hole because of some of the things that happen around it. So we'll get into some of that. Again, if you want the full rundown, it is on the SoundCloud feed right now, which is probably, again, slowly propagating to iTunes and Google Play and all the rest of that stuff. So Stitcher and whatever else. You know, there's like 100 of them. So there we go. So we're going to do that then. Anything else there, Frank? I think so there's a hole. We got the resurrected dogs. We got...
Yeah, the government took us all away. So he appeared on Coast to Coast with our Bell, and this was in 97, I believe, so it's quite an old story. And he appeared on the show, talked about the hole, and then the government showed up the very next day and said there was a plane crash on his property and confiscated him. Eventually, they paid him off. He got a good salary out of it. He went to Australia. Then he came back to America. That was his big mistake. And he started talking about the hole again. And guess what? They knocked him out. They tried to kill him. They stole all his artifacts. He had a coin that was never minted. As you mentioned, he had this handgun, which could fire without making a sound, and a bunch of other nonsense. Also, black beams of light shooting out of the hole sometimes. Anyway, when we last left off, Mel was down on his luck. He didn't have a dime to his name. He had no money. He had no direction in life. He was making his business, growing these herbal remedies, making some kind of Native American style medicines. And he lost his property. His wife divorced him. He was down on his luck. And that's the last we heard of him. I think it was for 3 or 4 years.
I think that's right. And don't forget there's some other government shenanigans. They removed his teeth for some reason. And so we have again, the mystery and the plot thickens here because now he is back. The government paid him off, like Frank said, to go to Australia. To basically, they bought his property in perpetuity, they said. So they were giving him $4 million a year, I believe it was, to just go to Australia, go away. But he came back to the States and then had some legal wranglings with his wife. She was trying to get the money, some other things. He tried to help his nephew move, I think is why he said he came back to the States. So yeah, and of course, when you do that, you sign a document that says you won't come back, and you do come back, well, there's a problem. So again, he's lost all his money, like Frank said, penniless, and here we go. Yeah, sure, he says they took his teeth. Yeah, exactly, all kinds of crazy stuff happening here. So, okay, so does that catch us up? So he's down on his luck. He's had some problems, yeah. Anyway, if you want the full rundown, it's like almost a 3-hour deal. Go check it out. It's on SoundCloud right now. SoundCloud, I say, without the bad pronunciation. And there we go. So let's get to the new. So after he's down on his luck, he had some legal stuff with his wife. He's lost all his money, even though he had $4 million a year coming in for the rest of his life. He just squandered that because it got taken from him, basically. And here we are.
What was he doing? He was running a wombat rescue foundation in Australia. So some of the details in the story, they're completely unbelievable. But who would lie? Who would lie? This is always what stuck with me. Who would lie and say they were running a wombat rescue foundation? To me, you'd say a kangaroo rescue foundation. You'd say a coral reef conservation effort. You wouldn't say a wombat rescue association. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Well, it does if you're rescuing wombats. Come on, Frank. I mean, if you've got $4 million a year to name stuff whatever you want, you can name it whatever you want. Come on now. Money tells the story here. And yeah.
Anyway, let's get into, because guess what? He finds a second hole. And that's what this story is about. The second hole that Mel has found. So let's get down into this rabbit hole. There's a pun. And he comes back. Some Native Americans contact him, and he's brought out to this second hole. So let's play clip one, and let's get a brief update. So again, 3 years passes maybe, and he finds the second hole. He does some work at the hole. He does some more experiments. And let me tell you, stay tuned, because if you thought the previous episode was crazy, this gets even crazier. So let's play clip one and see some details, work out some details.
And I just wanted to bring it up today. I haven't been able to track down my former wife at all. I mean, she is just like vanished. I don't know where she is. I don't know what name she's going under. I have no idea.
There you go. The wife takes the money and ends up missing. Changes her name.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. Is the wife owned the property, right? And Mel was kind of leasing it from the wife, and they had a divorce. So either they killed the wife, or the wife is now receiving that money, and the wife knows well and good. Shut the hell up. Don't talk to anyone. That's another point I wanted to bring up about the story. It may seem fantastic. It may seem sensationalist, but this guy had people calling in on the radio. This was all done in Coast to Coast with our Bell. He had people calling in and vouching for him. He had neighbors calling in. He had recipients of the coins and the gun. They called in. He had police officers calling in. So he had a bunch of people verifying this whole story. But let's continue with clip 2 here and see what they did, because they did something to cover this up after they took possession of the hole.
If you found Ellensburg,
Yes.
and you zoomed out, so
Right.
the picture got smaller,
Right.
Oh, wait. Is that right? I'm just going by the numbers here.
Yeah, that's right.
You said the numbers are screwy. Okay, that's right. All right, here we go. One more time. Sorry about that.
if you found Ellensburg,
Yes.
and you zoomed out, so
Right.
the picture got smaller,
Right.
you will see where my property is, and it's very easy to see where it is.
And in how would we identify it?
Because it has been expunged.
What do you mean?
Those pictures do not appear on the satellite server, the ones taken in June of 2000.
Well, instead, where your property ought to be, what do we see?
2 white squares.
Are you serious?
Absolutely. You go to Terra server, that's provided by Microsoft. I'm not going to give any URLs.
No, a lot of people know how to do it.
And look up Ellensburg.
Right.
Zoom out.
Right.
So you get and then you will see over where the Monastash Ridge is.
Yes.
My property blanked out. Actually, quite a bit. There's quite a few.
Wow.
Okay, I've got that Google Maps up. Is this relevant to this, or is this some other things? This has a Mel's Hole on here. I'm not so sure that's accurate.
Yeah, so remember, back in 2002, 2003, this satellite imagery was just coming to the forefront. We didn't have it like it was today. That was back in the good old days. There was hardly any images, and it was all grainy quality. I did put an image in the Discord there of what this looked like during the time period, and you can see those two white squares. So again, if you fact check this guy, if you look at these details, if you kind of add up what he says and you look at evidence, it lines up. Most of this stuff lines up. So we do have that image. If you can pull it up with those two giant white squares. Do you see that one?
I do, I think. Hold on. Never mind the seals, guys. Hold on. I'm looking for it.
We're getting to the baby seals. Don't you worry.
We'll get to the baby seals. No, I don't see it. Did you sure you put it in there? You sure you put it in there?
Yeah, it's in the media folder. I can copy it for you.
Thank you. Yeah. You'll have to forgive me. There's like 75 things tonight to keep track of. That's a lot. All right, so here we go. Frank being the man, clicking it out of nowhere, and let's take a look at this. Okay, so apparently they've removed his actual property from the satellite data, and here's the photograph. And again, if you guys, if this ends up on YouTube like it should, or wherever else it's supposed to be, you can see all these links. I'll post the links in the chat so you can follow up on us again. Just like Frank said, we don't like to make completely frivolous claims here, so here is the actual image itself. So here we are up, linking it so you guys can check it out. But all these links will be accompanied with wherever you can find it, hopefully, unless it's not YouTube, because that's the only place you can put like 100 links. Okay, anyway, there it is.
Yeah, so this guy, he lived near Ellensburg, Washington, and he lived to the west of the place, and you see that right there on the Monastash Ridge. That whole area is blanked out. It's completely gone. Now, when I first heard this story, it must have been 2009, so I didn't hear it air live, but I remember going to Google Maps and panning around and looking at places, and I can remember those two white squares being there, even on Google Maps in 2009. Since then, if you click on Google, it'll pop up. There's no white squares. You can see everything on Google Maps now. And I have to wonder, can we really trust Google Maps? How easy would it be for them to just put in some fake terrain? Put in some trees and put in a little roadway going through there, paint a nice picture. Can we really trust them to show what's on the earth? I was thinking about that today. I doubt it. I completely doubt it. I think that those squares are still there, but instead of just white, they filled them in with what it should look like, quote unquote should.
Yeah, so not only do they have errors, we actually were doing an episode a while back. It kind of randomly came up that somebody mentioned there's a weird Google Maps anomaly in Baja, California. Or no, what was it? It was down in Mexico, Baja, blah, blah, blah. What's that called? What's the name of that town down there? Anyway, it was way down there at the very bottom of that little Baja, California bit. And there was a freeway that you could see on Google Maps, and it just kind of ran into nowhere. It just disappeared. So this freeway was a freeway, and then it literally hit the desert, and there was no more road. But it was not just, a dirt road you'd expect to maybe disappear. It was a freaking freeway. So we pulled it up and looked at it, and, I had a friend that had been down there and verified that freeway is there, but the actual Google Maps portion that was kind of a desert was an error. It was maybe an old image. And so I think you're right, Frank. In this instance, and probably going forward just for, quote, national security reasons, I would bet that we have some fake Google Maps stuff happening out there. So some images that have been doctored or, just like they do on the moon, right? Or Mars. they've been photoshopped, let's say. And I think that's probably in the contracts with these guys. You put a satellite up, we have to be able to redact these things. So, yeah, this doesn't surprise me a bit.
Yeah, give me a break if you think you can use Google Maps, the satellite version, and see China's missile bases. If you can see the missile bases in the States, if you can look at Area 51 and actually see what's there, give me a break. That's not going to happen. They paint a fake picture over it, a facade, what it should look like, but not what's really underneath it. Anyway, these white squares, again, he just mentioned that. So they were hiding something at that point in time. They definitely were hiding something right where he said he lived.
Yes, exactly. And so here's the actual Google map that you can see. So they've this portion is now back, but what that means at this point is anybody's guess. Because I think we're still at the same to this point in the story. Nobody's actually verified the location of this Mel's hole, right? Like it hasn't come out as this exact coordinate, and this is where you can find it type of thing.
Oh, definitely not. No, people have been there, and people have quote unquote testified about it. But no one's actually said, these are the precise coordinates. This is where you go. No, that hasn't happened.
Okay. So again, photoshopped. Photoshop. I'm with that. Google Maps doctored. And of course, remember, so we talked about the implications of this hole. If you could literally throw things down there forever, landfill-wise or garbage-wise, this can solve tons of problems in not just one area, but like one community, but for huge chunks of the world, this is an actual thing, right? Like I said, imagine if it's like a portal to Lord knows where, and you're just throwing things and they're, ending up in a black hole somewhere. That would be the ultimate landfill, right? But yeah, I don't know. So nobody's found it. At least if the government took it over, it would have maybe some nuclear waste implications, as Art Bell mentioned in one of the clips in the previous show. So who knows? But yeah, all right. If anybody out there knows where it's at, we want to know. Okay. Well,
yeah, let's. So again, this whole show, it attracted massive attention, and the media even sent out teams there to investigate. Back in the good old days, they got off Twitter, they got off their asses, and they actually went and they looked at things and they talked to people. Do you remember those days? I do. Anyway, let's play clip number 3 and hear about that.
Maybe my audience is not aware, but a television crew went up to Ellensburg after we did the last program and researched this. And I'll be doggone, they didn't find the hole, but they did find near the area where you were talking about a lot of military boot prints and all kinds of information that would indicate the military, in fact, had been there or was there.
Oh, they would have probably seen a lot of yellow gear tread marks in the ground.
Yep.
Okay.
Again, so when people verify details of the story, when they ask for testimony, when they look at the area on the Google Maps in particular, when they ask people to call in about the gun that fired and didn't make a sound, there's always someone to back this up. So this isn't if this is a scam, if this whole thing is fake, this isn't a one-man operation, And so he even said they went to the site, they saw military gear, they saw buildings and all this kind of stuff. We actually have a clip from one of these news shows back in the day. So can you find that YouTube clip and play Mel's Hole on News TV?
All right. I think I can do that. Let's see. Is this beyond me? Maybe not. This isn't a red elk business? Or it is?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Red elk. I was actually going to talk about this guy in the last show, but we went way long because I did a bunch of looking into this. But let's see what this guy has to say. And action.
The Pacific Northwest is full of mysteries, from Bigfoot to ghost stories and, of course, the disappearance of D.B. Cooper.
Another mystery buried deep in the hills of eastern Washington keeps resurfacing. A bottomless pit said to be a pathway to the paranormal. KOMO4's Denise Whitaker heads east in search of the hole.
Ellensburg and its surrounding valleys and Menashtash Ridge are beautiful in any season. But some believe what lies beneath is a deep, dark hole with supernatural powers. One of the only people alive ever known to have seen this mysterious hole took me as far as he could or would.
Oh, honey, don't go up that damn driveway.
I want to see if there's tracks up here. I'm just curious.
You're out of your tree going up there.
Red Elk, a Native American shaman or medicine man, tells me his dad first showed him the hole in 1961.
He said, this is an endless hole.
He says he's been back many times and that strange things happen every time he goes near it.
And people get it confused with what I call the devil's hole.
Many locals claim to know about the hole, but it didn't really become a phenomenon until 1997, when Mel Waters went on the Coast to Coast radio show with Art Bell.
As usual, I brought the dogs with me. They wouldn't go anywhere near the damn thing.
Waters said the hole had a 3-foot stone wall around it. It seemed bottomless to him, so he used an old shark fisherman's trick, sending thousands of feet of fishing line down.
What I did is I sent down a roll of lifesavers.
Lifesavers?
Yeah, so when it hits the water, the lifesavers will dissolve.
But the lifesavers came back up whole, no water.
Yeah, you can pause
So how
that now.
deep was this hole?
All right.
Yeah, so people were interested. People went to the site. Now, this Red Elk character, he was one of the people. He's passed away now, but he was one of these people who was in this know. He was in the know about this thing. He went to the hole, he talked to Mel, and he knew about this other hole that we'll talk about in a bit. But there's people testifying that this is real. That's what gets me. It's not just one man's crazy story. You could invent a crazy story if you want, but this old fart here, he's backing the whole thing up. So, what do you have to say about that?
Well, again, you've got people that corroborate this stuff. It's hard to, just like with the UFO stuff or the Bigfoot stuff, or you get a lot of this stuff where you have many witnesses across different geographic areas. I mean, this is only one spot, but this guy backed it up. And not only that, he thinks it's worth preserving, right? So remember that when they talked about this, they said that the neighbors had known about this hole, and generations before, like the natives have known about this hole. And so this is a thing that is known in the area, and somehow, some way, this guy stepped forward and said, yeah, this is happening, and I won't take you there because whatever reasons he had, but yeah, right? So again, if you can just call all the UFO people crazy, then just lump him into the mess, right? He's crazy too. I mean, I'd rather take people at their word first and maybe see some evidence, but I mean, the guy's saying it's there, right? Good enough for me at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I wanted to take a brief segue. I put a link to this guy's website, redelkspeaks.com. Do you see that? Can you open that up? This is amazing. YouTube is at its tricks again. So this is like this is his personal website where he did everything on the internet. But if you click on the video, I was expecting to see videos about the hole because he was big into this hole. And if you just scroll down this page, this videos page, you'll see what I mean immediately. Almost all these videos are deleted, removed, completely gone. So I'm looking for evidence here. I'm trying to trace back through history, find more about this hole. And YouTube has gone and deleted all this stuff. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, so this is actually the exact site I ended up on, and one of the walls I ran into in the first show looking into this, because a lot of this has just been straight up removed. And you see that, there's maybe 15 or 18, 20 videos here, but there's only 3 or 4 that are still there. So everything has been removed. So yeah, I don't know, right? And again, it goes back to that whole thing. Like, if there's nothing to hide, then why hide it? And a lot of this stuff has been taken off the internet. So, and again, this is my theory, right? So the draconian copyright rules are one of the ways to take this stuff down. And 2, the hate speech, right? You stack those 2 up together, and there you go. You can pretty much knock down anything you want. And yeah, here we go. Like, why would it be that this guy's site has, 75% of the videos removed, just gone from YouTube entirely? I did link it if you guys want to check it out. Pretty good stuff on this site, but yeah, this is exactly what I ran into the last time, Frank. It's crazy. It's crazy the stuff that was there is no longer there.
Yeah, and this guy, he's passed away too. So it's not like he can contact YouTube and get these videos reinstated because he's in the ground. So this is horrible to think that one day they don't like what you said. They can't shut you down because then there'll be some kind of Streisand effect. So they just wait until you're dead and then delete everything. It's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, can you go back to that news report and play the last 40 seconds? Because there's more details that kind of substantiate this whole story.
Yeah, 40 seconds. Let's see how my math is. There. All right, let's play this and let's see. And
solve the mystery of what happened to the library's file on Mel's Hole.
Well, it just disappeared, which lends itself to the mysteriousness of Mel's Hole. Did Mel take it? Did it just sort of rise out of the locked file cabinet? You never know. There might be a hole out there.
Question is, can any of us find it? Denise Whitaker, Como 4 News.
Como 4 News. I don't know where that's at, but I love it. Sounds great. All right, so here we go, and this is standard, right? Tom DeLonge had the curious case of the missing Nimitz incident when those files went missing. This has been happening for a while. So the Mel's Hole's library records also went missing behind lock and key. Yeah, right. Seems to be standard operating procedure at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we're, collecting the local stories, talking to the old people in the area, trying to find out more about this. And this librarian here was collating the whole thing, preparing a file on it. And it just disappears, completely gone. Give me a fucking break. Come on now. This is ridiculous. Come on. There should be backups. Maybe that's his fault. But to take it out of the library, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I think that's part of the problem, right? So this is not, remember, depersoning somebody. This goes back to the Bob Lazar bit. So if there's information, if there's anything that actually corroborates Bob Lazar's education, he's a UFO reverse engineering guy from 1989. If anybody remembers that story, is super famous. We've talked about him quite a bit. But it's the same sort of thing. Like, he's got actual files where he was an engineer, and those files have gone missing. So like I said, it's the same sort of thing. In the new days, right? Frank actually put up that image in the Discord where it's like a book burning didn't look like this all the time with the Nazis and the actual pile of books. And now it looks like this. And if you go to that Red Oak website, that's what it looks like instead, right? Instead, they're just ripping down YouTube videos. They're taking things down for whatever reasons they think they can justify, and it's gone. This stuff is literally gone. So let's let me spin through this again. So check it out, and you guys can see. Taken down. This is a modern day book burning right here, and that was a great little meme you found there, Frank. But it's completely accurate. I mean, what is there, like a dozen comments, maybe not even that on this video site. But yeah, like how long does this stay up? You know, who's paying for the website? Eventually, this will go away too, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, part of the reason we're doing this is to kind of preserve it, because I had to go to the deep, deep reaches of the internet to even get these audio clips. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Let's go to the second hole, though. He finds a second hole. So play clip number 4.
Before you got on, Mel, somebody fast blasted me, and I consider this a really good question.
Okay.
It is, what are the odds of any single one person finding 2 apparently bottomless or endless holes in one lifetime? The odds against that have got to be gazillions to 1. But then
yeah, and in fact, so you can't even consider odds. You know,
that's right. So outlandish.
He makes a good point there, right?
It's true.
He found 2 holes. So how does this make any sense, right? How do you rationalize that? He finds the one hole. Okay, I can buy it. A second hole, that's crazy.
Yeah, totally. And Brad on Facebook, what's up, says there's a hole or water into a hole that's in Minnesota that they cannot find the bottom either. So here we go. Somewhere in Minnesota, they say. And I've never heard of that, but there would be more corroborating evidence, right? That it happens one place, it would happen another place. Yeah. I'm with it. Good comment. Thank you, guys.
Now, there is a third hole. We won't talk about that this show, but we'll talk about that another time. There is 3 holes. Anyway, let's play number 6. How did he learn about this hole? So you have to remember, this guy was on his property in the Manastash Ridge, Ellensburg, Washington. He was growing these Native American plants, right? That was his career, kind of growing these medicinal plants, trying to make, cures and all this organic medicine type of thing. So let's play clip 6, because this plays into it.
You connected, obviously, because I guess of the plants that you grow, the herbs and all the rest of it, with Native Americans, right?
Yeah, and all I'm going to tell you about them, I don't want to give the name of the tribe because I don't want a bunch of people running down to me there. These are very poor people. As you know, a lot of the Indians on the reservation are very poor people.
Now, this is in Nevada, right?
In Nevada.
Okay. Here in my state.
And there are tribes up there that...
Well, because of the kind of work you did, the metallic work you did in belt buckles and the herbs you grow, I can easily understand the connection you would have with some Native Americans. So you connected with these Native Americans.
Well, they connected with me. They actually contacted me through email. And said, look, would you be interested in coming down and discussing with us, what you're doing, the research that you're doing, and, talk about, I have believe me, Art, I have no commercial interest in this at all, but they do.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay?
Fine.
There's not going to be a patented bottle of Mel's magic elixir here, okay?
Okay, fine.
This is their thing. But we swap notes, we talked around a lot, and there are some specific...
they knew who you were because of my program and the press coverage, and okay.
So I went down there, and this was in early September of last year.
Okay. So on that note, there's not going to be any magic oil. Frank is actually releasing an ointment that if you... No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Frank. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. I should release an ointment. Anyway, that's how we found the hole. That's the story, right? So he didn't find the hole. He wasn't walking around the woods one day, found a second hole. These guys contacted him because they knew he worked with these plants. Remember, these plants only grew near the hole. These whatever kind of plants they were, he never really specified. But that's how we found the second hole. So let's play clip 7, cap this part off.
All right, clip 7, let's see, action.
So, we're over there, and they had done a lot of good work. They had cataloged a lot of plants. We talked plants. I'm sure all this plant stuff is boring. And I asked them if they knew and I told them, I said the plants that seemed to work the best were the plants that I had been growing on my property, and I described to them which ones they were, and
this was the hole near Washington, right?
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
And
so obviously you unraveled the story of the hole to them.
Well, they were aware. They were aware
All right.
of the thing too.
All right.
And so I says, can you, in your gathering and in your research and your studies, have you found this specific variety? And I said, because this was the variety that grew by the property. And that's where I ended up at the second hole, is because they took me directly to, not for the hole in particular.
Well, then it's obvious to me that they knew your reputation.
Right.
They knew the whole story of the hole, and the real motivation for inviting you down there, aside from the herbs and the rest of it, was that they had a hole of their own.
A hole of their own. Insert all the jokes. I got to point out that all the chat keeps just firing out the whole jokes, man. We got manhole jokes, we got 2-hole jokes, we got 3-hole jokes. Just a FYI. If anybody out there is into whole jokes, check out the chat. There we go. There's the comedy relief. All right, Frank.
Well, I'd hold on to those jokes if I were you, because there's some awfully strange stuff that comes out of this hole. Nothing you would want coming out of one of your own backyard holes, let me tell you. Anyway, let's keep going. So he's in contact with these natives in Nevada. Are there Native Americans? You live there, right? In Las Vegas is in Nevada. Are there Native Americans up there in the north?
Yeah, definitely. So there's reservations all over the place. And so, as everybody knows, these reservations are actually sort of sovereign nations inside of the United States. So they kind of have their own police forces and these sorts of things. And it's well known, actually, that in these areas, the jurisdiction is foggy. And so you do get FBI presence sometimes, but it ends up having that, let's say, if you want to get away with something, you do it on the reservation, right? Wink, wink. That's sort of the, right? Because it's like crossing the state line sort of thing, and doing it where they don't have a ton of resources, they don't have a ton of police, and unless it's something super heinous, then that they basically, right? It kind of goes by the wayside. But yeah, there are definitely reservations up here, definitely natives that have been here for a very long time. So it is a thing. This is not made up, and I'm with it on that part anyway.
Good tips on committing crime from Michael Strange. Go to the res and do it there.
There you go.
Anyway, let's play 19 now. Talking more about these plants, finally getting to the hole and learning more about it.
19, you're skipping on me. What the hell's going on? All right, here we go. Got it. And action.
The Native Americans that I talked to were aware of it, but they did not want to deal with it. They did not want to interact with it. Is that a good word?
That's a word.
All they would do is pick some of the various plants that I needed that were in the general vicinity of it, because I wanted very specific ones that I had recommended, and they knew of them.
All right. Are they now growing some of these plants in the vicinity of this hole?
Well, some of those plants are there. They appear to be indigenous to the area, so they did harvest some, early on in the season there.
So then again, you saw similar vegetation around this hole to the one in Washington.
Well, that's why I asked them for, if they knew, I described to them what it was, and the shape of the things and, the size of the various, and they said, oh yeah, we know of that there, but in terms of why the entree, I assume that the Native Americans knew about this all along there. And I assume that they must have had some conversation with the Basque there that, would this be okay? Are you interested in this guy? Blah, whatever. And apparently there was no objection, so I have access to this property.
Well,
but I want to respect my access, okay?
And again, so there are, so if you go to the, there are places also in Arizona, let's say, out near the Superstition Mountains, where it is rumored that there are still wild Indians, Native Americans, that have not actually been accepted the new way of things, and they live the old ways. And if you stumble into some territory that you shouldn't be in, you're in serious danger. So that's a thing as well. So I don't know if it's I've got some old stories of my grandfather, real quick, saying that when he used to run the railroad, they would have to stay out of the windows because when you rolled through the Indian Territory, there would actually be arrows flying through the windows because they didn't have glass windows in the trains back in the day. So they said when they got to certain points, they'd actually just stay up against the wall out of the window, and every once in a while, you hear the clangs, and an arrow here there would come through the railroad. Great story, but yeah. So this is a thing. This could be a thing. So again, I don't know, right? So if you go out to these places, there are places in this world, let's say, that are not controlled as you would expect them to be. Let's say. So there we go.
I got some of those guys near me too, except it's not bows and arrows; it's methamphetamines. That's another story for another day.
Whoa! Why we got to go there, Frank? Okay, fair enough. Okay, all right. So yeah. So he's respecting the Indian, basically reservation is what he's saying. And so, right, you can't fault the man for that because there might be problems. Again, if you disappear in one of those places, it's easier to cover, right? And might actually be interesting for maybe David Pilates and Missing 411 to take up. But yeah, so it's like I said, it's kind of a well-known thing, at least as far as I'm aware. Anyway, okay. So moving on from that, we're not trying to be stupid about it here.
Yeah, so he's up there. He's contacted these Native Americans, and the Basque, which are Spanish people, apparently are the ones who own the land around this hole, and they're like sheep herders and all this kind of stuff. Let's play clip 8. He explains that these Basque and their association with the hole.
Basically, the hole is not on their property.
Okay.
I mean, basically their connection, to get from the reservation or where the Indians are to the hole is they know
but
where it is.
You're telling me this hole is in my state?
In the state of Nevada.
In the state of, oh my God. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And if you looked at the picture of where the Monastash is in Washington, if you try to find similar pictures in Nevada, you probably find it there too.
We have very similar looking terrain.
It really is. That's why I love the high desert. That's my kind of land. So anyways, so I'm up there, and this land is used by members of the Basque, BASQUE community.
All right.
The Basque are interesting people, and they basically came out to your state and a couple of other states, basically for raising sheep, of all things.
Okay.
And so they are shepherds, and so I am introduced to what is now the second hole.
All right. Tell me about this. I mean, they took you to it.
They took me there. I did not go all the way up to the hole, but there was conversations between the Native Americans and the Basque and the blah blah blah, and they basically agreed that everything was as it should be. That I wasn't from CNN or the FBI or the CIA or whatever. Right. And so I went there, and I got to see the hole.
I got to see the hole. There you go. And CNN existed back then. They were still bringing fake news to you from decades ago. All right. So, yeah. All right. So
did you know that there's all these Basque Indians or Basque kind of Spanish American people up there in northern Nevada herding sheep all over the place? So there's a couple of links I put in there if you want to pull one up. But I had no idea about that. I didn't even know what the heck a Basque was. Did you know that?
Yeah. Okay. So I did. I'm familiar with the Basque people, and so here's a weird thing about the Basque people. They are from is it Pyrenees Mountains? Is that what it's called? Let's see. It doesn't say here. But I think that's right. But so it's right there in Spain, Spain and Portugal, somewhere right in that area, and they speak a particular dialect that the linguists have said is not related to any of the modern tongues whatsoever. And so they're saying that the Basque people themselves are probably like more, let's say, an ancient culture, right? In compared to modern times, that's what the Basque people are. Again, BASQUE. So I was familiar with that. We had I had Spanish in high school, and we had a great teacher that talked a lot about these guys, which was pretty fascinating. But because it was a linguistic thing, and so the language they speak, the Basque language, is just not. Really, it's almost out of time. It's almost like these people came from somewhere else and didn't derive their language from either their neighbors or any of this other business. So I did know that. I did not know they were here in Nevada. So this is pretty new. This is pretty cool stuff.
And again, it just goes to show that either this guy is a very accomplished liar who's done a bunch of research and has worked all these little factoids of truth into his story, or he's telling the truth, right? Because I had no idea what a basque was. I thought it was some kind of thing you put apples in. But there you go. So they're up there. This part checks out, and they have this hole on their sheep herding land, and he's about to throw some stuff down the hole, and various things come out of the hole.
There you go. So insert more hole jokes. These chat is full of hole jokes. Kurt adds on Facebook, Basque and Moors are post-Charlemagne expulsions of Muslims from France. Could be. Could be. I'll believe you because I can't. I don't know enough to refute you, but okay, we'll roll with that. Kelly says they're the only people that have 95% of that Rh negative blood. See, like I said, there's a lot of bizarre things about the Basque people that there's an argument that they should be their own sovereign thing, and there's that whole thing going on over there. But again, I didn't know they were here in Nevada, so that's pretty cool stuff. Again, I've put the links there if you guys want to check it out and read more into this, because it is a fascinating subplot to this, the Basque people and how did they end up in the Silver State. Yeah, you got me.
So let's play clip 9 and let's start hearing about this hole, because it has a couple of different properties, a few things about it that are different than the one in Washington. So clip number 9.
In my estimation, you could mate something with it, to lock it in place. And it could possibly have been like a locking collar.
You mean something was, in other words, it looked like something intended to lock to it from above?
Exactly. Something would be lowered onto it and locked into place.
Okay.
But the Basque tell me that this property, or this hole here, has been there for all of their experience, and they have been there since the 1800s. Just the way it is, but the same hole. On not their land. They don't own this land, Art. This is probably U.S. government land.
Well, the majority of land here in Nevada is BLM.
Well, exactly.
Bureau of Land Management.
It's not. They don't own it. They use the land. They graze sheep, blah blah blah, that sort of thing.
And how long have they known of this hole? Do you know?
Well, again, the one fellow I know says he knew this from when he was a young man, and he was well into his late 80s, and so he knew it from probably for the last 70 years.
Okay, so more.
So I kind of, pardon me for interrupting. I kind of clipped the first part of that off. This new hole had a metal ring around it. So the one in Washington had this stone wall built around the edges and stone kind of going down inside it. This thing had a metal ring around the top, and he refers to it as this collar because it looks like, when you're joining two pipes together or something like that. It's almost like something was meant to attach to it. It had little edges kind of carved into it. So it looked like some kind of mechanical device, and then the metal in this hole anyway went all the way down as far as they could see. So that's a bit different.
That is different. And so again, odd that this certain individual has the knack for finding these holes. But okay, so this is a one in Nevada. We had one in Washington where it started. We had somebody in chat say they have one in Minnesota or Minneapolis, or I get it confused. But whatever. Yeah. So if we got one, we got two, we got three, we got four. Maybe there are. Maybe these things are existing all over the place, and this is just I don't know. Maybe one of many. So okay, again, right? Like the more evidence you get, the more you kind of go, okay, well, let's hear more. So what is more? What's the next friend?
Okay, let's play 18 because this metal, whatever it was, had some special properties to it.
What about noise? At any point did it make any noise?
No, we never during this process that we went through, it made no noise at all. It made no noise, and we did not notice anything from the surface, anything particularly unusual, okay, at all. I mean, there was, it's just, but...
Were there any markings on this metal that were discernible? In other words, anything marked or scratched in English or any other language?
Well, we went at it with a hacksaw blade. You couldn't hacksaw it.
You couldn't even dent it?
No. The metal itself, from what I can determine, and I mean, normally if you have a metal thing that's hollow, you could tap on it, and you would hear that it's hollow.
Right.
But with this thing here, you know, if you're beating on it with like a tire iron,
no
it doesn't
noise.
make any noise. That doesn't give you a gauge as to whether it's hollow or not.
So it was absorbing probably all noise. I mean, there would have
maybe just sucking it up. Maybe it radiated into the ground. I have no idea. That's not my area of expertise. All I know is what I could see with my own eyes, and hopefully by the end of tonight, maybe somebody will have some
answer.
Yeah, so remember, the way this all started was he actually contacted Art Bell via fax. That's how long ago this was, right? And so he was looking for help, some sort of geologist team or somebody to come take a look at the original hole. And that's how this entire story kind of got started. It was not a direct, hey, me, look at me, come here. But then the government encroached, and there were other problems, and then, yeah, so here we are. Hole number 2. But here we got some good, so many good hole jokes. I can't read them all. But Larry wants you to know my hole makes noise. There we go. All right, keep the hole jokes coming, guys. You guys are out of control. All right.
Okay, let's play 13. This is some good fodder for hole jokes because something comes out of the hole on occasion.
All right, 13. Here we go. Action.
You did perform some experiments on this hole, didn't you?
Okay, let me talk.
That was 14. I'm a moron. Here we go. Action.
They too have spoken of the black beam. They've spoken of that.
What do you mean black beam?
From time to time, a black beam. This is a contradiction, but a black beam of light, okay, comes from the hole. It lasts for a very short time, but it just goes directly up into the sky.
And when you look at it, it looks like a black beam. In other words, as opposed to a lighted sky.
If you had a flashlight and it was capable of throwing off a black, not a black light like we used to have back in the 60s, you know, with all that stuff, but black, solid black.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's what. There's no way to describe it. There's no. I am one of the few people that I've had other people tell me about it. I have never personally witnessed the black beam.
There you go. So regarding holes, he himself has never actually witnessed the black beam, but there is some sort of a black beam that does emanate from the hole. So there you go. Parse the language as you will. You can cut up that audio clip and make me say all sorts of terrible things. But that was, and this was actually one actually happening with his first hole as well, right? There was some sort of a black something coming out of it, a ray of light or. Yeah, so this is not new. This is not a new claim with hole number 2. This is what's been happening, right?
Yeah, so this black beam, not a brown beam, a black beam. It keeps emanating and shooting these things into the sky. Now, he had people call in and verify this, right? So again, there's more witness testimony for this whole thing. I'm not going to play it here because it refers to the previous hole, but yeah, there's people verifying this thing. So shooting at this black energy beam into the sky, kind of weird. Okay, now we get to the good part. We got the hole, new hole in Nevada, this metal collar around the edge. Hammer on it, try to cut it up. It doesn't do anything. Shooting at this black beam. They decided to do some experiments. Remember, the first time around, he only had a couple of days with it. He was lowering that fishing line down. He was trying to measure into the hole, and that was about it. But this time around, he's got all the time in the world to start doing experiments. He's got other people helping him out. So let's play 14. He starts lowering stuff into the hole to see what happens.
You did perform some experiments on this hole, didn't you?
Okay, let me talk about the first one. And I'm not a scientist. I'm kind of a researcher. But the first thing that we did is we had a whole bunch of Safeway or 7-Eleven bags of ice.
Uh-huh.
You know, the kind that you buy, and we had a couple bags of that. So we had put one in a bucket on the surface, and we lowered another bucket of ice into the hole, 1,500 feet.
1,500 feet?
Yeah, we had access to a nice winch and about that much. We only had 1,500 feet of line, and that's what we...
What was the idea of lowering ice into it?
Well, first of all, my curiosity is that I wanted to know, was it hot or cold down there?
Okay.
So we basically waited for the ice to melt about halfway on the surface, and we would hoist up the...
I see. So your ice, you had test ice on the surface.
Yeah.
To see how that was melting. Oh, I got you.
Of, your garden variety convenience store ice,
Right.
that you buy anywhere, and nothing magic about it or anything like that.
Right.
And so we lowered it down there. We waited for the ice to melt on the surface there, and it got about half melty, So it was sitting in a bowl of in a bucket of water with a few bits of ice floating around. We brought it up, and the ice in the bucket did not melt.
It didn't melt.
It was not melted. So we said, this was on.
No, wait a minute. Now, the hole had been radiating in some strange way heat enough that people would camp by it.
Yeah, they did that in the wintertime.
But it doesn't melt ice?
It didn't melt the ice.
Okay, so that's smart. So we had some questions here. I think Sherry asked, is it heat emanating from the hole here? And so this is a good way to find out, right? So you drop some ice down there and you find out if the ice kind of preserves itself and comes up mostly intact, it's cold, right? But if it doesn't and the thing's just melted water, then you get, what do you get? It's probably warm down there. So that's a good experiment, right? That's one of the basic things you would probably want to do and find out before you maybe send people down there. We got a quick Nick here on Facebook has a question, and it's unrelated, but he wants to know real quick about ATIP. Does anyone here know where I can find the research files from the ATIP program that were declassified and released by McCain back in January this year? I think you can go to theblackvault.com, check him out. He's got a ton of stuff on that. And we've talked a lot about ATIP. We can't really spend too much time on it tonight, but that's there you go. I think if they've been leaked, they would be WikiLeaks. If they haven't, they'll be on theblackvault.com. So there you are. Thanks, Nick. We do talk about that quite a bit, so maybe tune in next time because we do have to talk about their final episode in that Italian "It Shoot Array." So we will get there.
Which was a garbage trash fire. And makes me distrust that organization so much. It's unbelievable. Stay tuned for that on Thursday.
Exactly. So we will talk about that. Just don't have time tonight. So thank you for the question. I wanted to point it out because we are all over that, and we will continue to be all over that. Okay. So, all right. So where was I? I got derailed. Where we at?
Yeah. So he had a bucket of ice on the surface, and he put a bucket of ice down the hole. He waited until the bucket of ice on the surface melted. Then he brought up the ice from the hole. It was still frozen. Or was it? Let's play clip number 15 because something weird was going on with this ice.
We had ice cubes. I reached in the bucket at ice cube. I picked one up there.
So in other words, nothing else, dirt, water, anything else.
No, the stuff appeared pretty much the way we had sent it down, with the exception of when I put my hand in the ice wasn't cold. Felt like ice.
What?
It wasn't cold. This is what I'm saying. It wasn't cold. You pick up a piece of ice, you put it in your hand.
It's cold.
It melts, and it's cold. In fact, it makes you cold by melting. That's how cold works.
Right.
Well, it didn't. It wasn't cold, and in the hand, it didn't melt.
So then, now they're more like blocks of glass.
Yeah, I would say so. But we said, oh, okay. What we'll do here is we take this bucket and we'll stick it on the fire. And we had a little place to cook there. Stick
the bucket with the unmelted ice?
Unmelted ice.
You put on a fire?
We put it on like our cooking fire there.
Okay.
We had a little table and cooking area and stuff over there. And so we put it on there, and the ice catches fire.
What?
The cubes catch fire. And I guess maybe catching fire might be the wrong word. That the ice, we took it off the fire right away. So we set it on the dirt, and the stuff in the bucket was still burning. And again, burning might not be the right thing. It was giving off heat.
Was there a flame?
It was not so much a flame as a kind of have you ever used a gas stove?
Sure.
Okay. It was like the barest turning a gas stove on. It was glowing like that last flicker before you turn it off completely. That's what it was like around all the cubes. And you could knock the cubes around and separate them, and each one of them, would exhibit the same properties.
Okay, so we got a lot of stuff happening here. So the ice goes down, the ice comes back up, and then it spontaneously combusts. Did I catch that right, Frank? This thing just the ice catches on fire?
he put this ice on the cooking fire after, he's picking up the ice cubes, trying to melt them in his hand. And he said, well, wait a minute here. They're not cold and they're not melting. So he takes this bucket of ice and puts it on the cooking fire to try to melt it with the heat from the fire. And the flames turn this, they start burning. This ice starts burning. So he put ice down the hole and it comes back as glass cubes that burn. So that's what's going on here.
Okay, so we have more of this what the hell is going on type stuff. So if you listen to the first one, we have the resurrected dog. They threw the corpse of a dog down there. A couple days later, this dog was alive again, running around the forest. We got some weird things that are not from this universe, not minted in any U.S. mint, but have these mint marks from these places that apparently don't exist. So there's a lot of weirdness happening with these holes, right? Insert hole joke here. But now we have this, and now this is so ice becomes glass, becomes not hot, and then spontaneously combusts. Now I'm on track. Tell me I'm on the track here, because if it's more than that, I'm confused.
Yeah, no, that's about right. Is this ice is now a different substance. This ice was transmuted into something that burns, which is very strange. So what did they do with it? Well, let's play 16, find out.
Yeah, let's find out. All right, 16. Let's see, where's that? Action.
I will tell you that this bucket, well, some of the bucket there is still sitting there, as far as I know today, still doing what it was doing the day we put it into the ground and brought it up.
So
this was September, and this is January now. That's how long it's been doing what I call burning. One guy took some of the stuff home. He put it in his wood stove, and he's got a cabin out there, and it gets damn cold where he is, and the thing has been keeping his place warm.
Yeah, northern Nevada is very cold.
Oh,
so this is like giving off eternal heat. I'm not sure I've got this right.
It makes it look.
It was neutral when it came out of the well. It was neutral. In other words,
we put it on the fire, and it appeared. Again, my terminology. This is very bad because
it acted like a fuel.
It will look like, if I understand combustion, it was like it was doing combustion in a different way than we would attribute combustion to, mixing air with fuel and creating heat and flame. It was doing kind of the same thing, is what I'd like to say. And it's been burning like that since, again, burning is the wrong word, but that's all I got for it. I don't know how to describe this process since early September. Again, a guy he took about a coffee can's worth of this stuff and took it home and put it in his wood stove in his cabin. No wood in there.
Yes.
And the thing has been going since then.
Okay, so now we have supernatural properties of some sort. So now this bucket of things, ice or glass or whatever chemical composition this became, is now some sort of eternal heat source? Like, what's going on here? Now, more high strangeness, as they would say in Mysterious Universe. High strangeness. This is weird stuff.
Definitely. So, again, you have the black beam. You have this revolver that shoots but doesn't make a sound. You have this coin that is apparently from 1943 Roosevelt dime with the mint mark B, which doesn't exist. It's never minted. There's no B mint mark. There's a picture of that if you want to pop it up. It's crazy. So there's all this just kind of bizarre stuff coming out of the hole. It doesn't make any sense. Even these plants with their special properties, right? He was making a cure for the flu, and he was using all these other plants trying it out. But the only time he could actually get this cure for the flu to work properly was when it was taken from these plants around the hole. So this hole seems to be emanating just weirdness. Does that make sense? It's just really bizarre.
Yeah, so Kelly suggested it's a portal of some sort. And if that's the case, right, and whatever's happening, right, whatever maybe radiation, electromagnetic, something is happening, it's coming out of this hole, exhibited by the black beam that shoots out and all of these strange things that are happening around it, right? I'm at a loss. It's definitely something that seems to be out of this world, right? Maybe dimensional, maybe back to that portal to another point in the universe where our physics are bent or don't exist like we know them. yeah, there's definitely some wacky stuff happening here. So I don't know. I'm with it. So I'd like to grow some plants around there and do some studies myself. That'd be amazing. Make some actual like super corn or something.
Yeah, definitely. So sometimes this is weird because sometimes he gets the ice, but when he lowers it down other times, it melts. When he lowers it down other times, it just disappears. So let's play 17 and hear more about that because this hole seems to be very inconsistent in what it does.
Now, we have tried this experiment of just the lowering of the bucket because we figured we'd like to have a lot of this stuff here.
Oh, of course.
And sometimes we would go down there and we would get nothing. Sometimes we would get melted. Sometimes, not melted, but real ice. But every so often, this process duplicates itself. So we come up with the same thing, but it isn't like, every time you throw, you lower a bucket full of stuff there that
it's going to happen every time.
It doesn't happen every single time.
A quarter of the time? An eighth of the time?
I'd say 1 out of 3 times.
1 out of 3.
One out of 3, and I don't know if it was the amount of time down there.
Do you possess any of this yourself?
I took nothing with me, Art. I would not. What is the word? This is theirs for now. Let's say for now, okay?
Okay. All right. I was reading chat, so you're going to have to help me out, right? I'm spacing.
Yeah, so the hole is weird. Basically, sometimes it makes this ice that burns but doesn't burn. That's glass but isn't glass. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So that was the first experiment. I remember at the hole in Washington, he just tried to measure it. He just tried to see how deep it goes. And that was it. Here at the hole, he's lowered the ice down and it came back and it burned. That was the first experiment. Then these guys, remember, he's with a bunch of sheep ranchers, these Basque sheep ranchers. They're out there in the wilderness squatting on public land. So they get to thinking, why don't we send someone down the hole? Right? That makes sense, doesn't it? Would you go down this hole?
Well, I mean, if I was secured properly and I was, comfortable that they weren't going to just, snip my wire and radio me. Hey, Mike, are you all right down there 6 hours later? Yeah, I would go. Hell yeah, I would go. If I heard all these stories and they were like, this is the deal with this hole and we need some volunteer because nobody's crazy enough, I would be crazy enough. I would be. I would just want to, literally check everything out to make sure I was safe enough, right? And have somebody up there that I trusted, and it wouldn't be you, Frank. It's somebody else. You're like, it's lunchtime, guys. Go ahead and cut it. We're gonna go eat.
Yeah.
No.
Personally, I would not go down the hole, but I would definitely be the one sending people down the hole. So there we go. Anyway, they start to talking. Let's play clip 20, and hear their discussion. They start talking about different things they can do, different experiments they can run.
Some sort of line, or better yet, some sort of camera on the end of a line, or
we didn't do that between the Basque and the Native Americans and me. We don't have too many nickels to rub together, but I will tell you what we did do. One of the Basque, kind of a wise acres, she wanted to lower some marijuana into the hole and see if it would improve its smokability.
So then it would be a pothole, right?
Well, I guess it could be that I hadn't thought of it that way, but he wanted to do that, and one guy wanted to be lowered into the hole himself.
Well, now you see, in the hour preceding your
I heard that.
Oh, did you? Two people who would actually like to be lowered into such a hole. Now I know that you believed in the powers of the hole in Washington to the degree that in the original agreement, now voided, I suppose, you were to be, upon your death, buried by being dropped into the hole, right?
How I wanted my remains to be dealt with, yes.
Now, that apparently is not going to happen because of subsequent events.
Oh, I've got another place to go now.
Would you really want...
Nevada.
Yes, would you really want to be... I suppose, with some ceremony, dropped into the hole?
Hey, just Give me a decent. I don't know what it is when you put someone in a hole. Is that interned or?
I don't know what you'd call that.
I don't know either.
Okay. so we have the chat is also mixed on whether they'd go down in that hole. What do you think, Frank? You're not doing it?
Well, I'd like everyone to form an opinion in their head because they do send something living down the hole. We'll get to that in a second. But I'd like everyone to form an opinion in their head whether they would or wouldn't. And then we'll play these next clips. Personally, knowing the story, knowing what happens, well, I won't spoil it. Anyway, yeah, so what do you think about that? You were even saying, let's put some corn down this hole, pull it up. Well, this guy had the same idea, only he wanted to put marijuana down the hole.
Yeah, and then smoke it, of course. see if it gives you an intergalactic high. That would be amazing. Of course, only in the jurisdictions where it's legal and, all those things.
Of course. And only if you're over 18 or 20 or whatever it is.
You got to say all the things. You got to say all the things. Yeah. So
what was that we said before? Martian red Kush. That's what they're going to grow on Mars is the Martian red marijuana strains.
Yeah, that was from the chat. I'm not sure who said that a while ago. It's been a while, but it's good stuff right there. But yeah, who knows, right? So this is the thing. So if there's weird things happening with this hole, you throw things in, or weird things happen planted around it or being around it. Yeah, who knows, man? Like who knows? Like if you're really into your weed, man, maybe that's the way to go. You just drop a little basket in the hole, drop it down 2,000 feet or so, and then leave it there for a day and bring it back up and see what happens, and then have a hell of a party. If anybody wants to throw that party, let us know. All right. So, again, formulate that opinion in your brain. Would you volunteer to go down into this hole? Would you be willing to, knowing all these crazy stories, knowing that it could be absolutely nothing? Let's say it takes a while, maybe weeks or months for anything to happen to you. Nothing could happen to you, or who knows? Maybe they lower you in 30 feet, and that's that, and you're changed forever. Who knows? What do you guys think? Would you actually want to be lowered into this hole? Again, sign me up. I'm curious. Don't send me to Mars, but lower me into the hole because you can bring me right back up. All right, so still craziness, right? High strangeness, they say.
It gets even crazier. Let's play 21, and they start talking about putting people down there. And let's play 21. Hear what they say about them.
But one of these guys wanted to go into, literally, he wanted to be lowered into the hole. He wanted to, be put in a gondola or something and lowered, from the winch into the hole and go down as far as we had line, which again was 1,500 feet.
I can assure you, Mel, we could get sponsors for you who would get you all the line you need.
Hey, look, we talked them out of going into the hole because we said, look, see what it did to the ice?
That's a good point.
It says, we sent a bucket of ice down into this hole, and it's sitting up there on the surface burning. I mean, what are you made out of mostly?
Water.
Water. What's going to happen to a human being down there? What properties are going on over there? Yeah, they had, but I mean, the Basques are, as a race, are fearless. When the Moors invaded Spain, they refused to go into Basque country.
Well, okay, what did this man say his motivation was for wanting to go into the hole? I mean, obviously...
He was just a young, headstrong, in his probably late 20s, early 30s fellow that wanted to go into it. He said, this is going to be a great adventure. I want to go in here. I want to see what's going on. But he wasn't thinking with his brain.
Well, there are obviously a lot of people like that, Mel, because I had two of them in the first hour of the program, and they said they would love to be lowered into such a hole. This one, if anything, this one sounds more attractive.
Well, we determined to do, and I'm ashamed to admit it, is that we decided to lower a sheep.
Okay, so, all right. So before we get there, they lowered the sheep into the hole. I did put up a poll. Would you volunteer to go into Mel's hole? Answer number 1, hell yes, get me in there. Hell no, not in a million years. Or answer number 3, what's in it for me? Go ahead and take the poll. If you're not on Facebook, this is a Facebook poll. And if you are elsewhere, go ahead and type it in the chat. We'll add it to the results as we go through this. So your vote, Frank, is hell no, not in a million years?
No, well, yeah. Couple of comments in chat here that I saw that were quite interesting. Shoot a bullet down the hole. I think so. That's a good idea. See what happens. And then someone says, send a GoPro on a line and check out what's down there. Well, this was in 2002, 2003, so they really didn't have that kind of technology, that kind of equipment back then. I don't even think batteries could have lasted that long, to lower it down 1,500 feet, then back again, probably be out of batteries in that short time.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, right? So people said send a drone down there. So the way actual commercial drones work is you need a cell signal. So the second your drone goes down and loses your signal, it's gone. It's gonna just do its thing. It's gonna fall or come right back up or whatever it does, right? Whatever they're programmed to do when they lose their signal, that's what they're gonna do. So it's not as easy as that. You would need military grade shit with direct satellite overhead type stuff to make sure you got a drone down there that would be able to fly deep enough to really give a shit to make any kind of difference. So yeah, it doesn't really work that way. So yeah, there you go. There's the poll. So Frank says no. I say yes. Put me in the hole. Put me in the hole and make your whole jokes. Keep the whole jokes coming. And yeah, so they put a sheep down. All right.
So they decide to put a sheep down. Now, these next few clips, they're pretty disturbing. And we've seen a lot of disturbing stuff, but these are very disturbing. So, if you're faint of heart, if you're worried, if you're sensitive, you should probably stop listening. But these clips, they're pretty terrifying. So let's play number 22, the start of the most crazy, insane story you've ever heard. And I'm not inflating it. It is. Let's play 22, a sheep going down the hole.
All right. So if there's any children listening, avert your ears. If there's any mothers or fathers near children that need their ears covered, please cover children's ears. Action.
We had a crate, the sheep could fit into that we could attach the cables to, and we're going to take the sheep, stick them in the crate, and then lower them down, to the 1,500-foot level, because that's all we had.
Like the ice.
Yeah, that's all we had. We had enough line basically to go that far, and it was stout enough to handle. I'm not no sheep guy, but I could pick up a sheep, so it must weigh about 120, 150 pounds. Yeah. Well, so I guess about the size of a small human, wouldn't you say?
I would, 150 pounds?
Yeah, for sheep.
Yeah, I would say that's about size.
I'm no sheep expert, but, if I had to say how much does that sheep look like a weigh, about 150, 125.
Okay, so I'm not a sheep expert either, so let's just call it a standard sheep. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, no, you have to remember this again. All these details line up because the Basque are traditionally sheep herders. They still herd sheep there, even nowadays. So again, there's this weird thing where either this guy's amazing at lying, or he's done his research. He's looked at all these little factoids, and he's concocted this great story, that just makes sense, or it's true. I don't know, one or the other. Anyway, let's play 23. Remember, animals don't want to go near this hole. Right? They run away from it. His dogs would never go near the hole. Birds don't fly over the hole. The sheep certainly doesn't want to go down the hole. So let's play 23, see what happens.
All right, 23. Let's see. Action.
You decided that you would lower a sheep 1,500 feet down as low as the ice had gone into the hole.
Well, we had decided that we were going to take the sheep and put them in a crate and lower them into the hole. We led the sheep to the hole, and it just started freaking out. I mean, we didn't make...
Like every other animal.
Yeah, but I mean, it was like totally...
Not happy.
It was not happy. And I have a lot of respect for animals, and it's amazing what animals really know. And what they sense.
Well, you're right about that. And so if it was terrified...
It was terrified, so the Basque got the sheep away from the hole, and again, a lot of what I'm going to say now, I am thoroughly ashamed of, and
that's all right. Just give us the raw truth.
He basically stunned the sheep by knocking it between the eyes, got into the crate, got the... cable and line hooked up to it, so it was all securely attached, and
right.
Just about when we got to the hole, the sheep just started making horrible noises. So he stunned it, but he didn't kill the sheep. Okay, he just knocked it out.
Yeah.
So it was live when it went in the box, and then it stirred when it got to the hole.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was just making the worst god-awful noises. We were getting it about ready to let it go into the hole.
Yeah.
And
even though it had been hit in the head?
It stirred by the time we got it crated up into the crate. There was enough room for it to lie down, and I guess if it wanted to, it could stand up. I don't know. Again, this is not pleasant to talk about, but
okay, so it's unpleasantness to talk about here, and that means the sheep came up in bad shape. He was in pain. He was screaming and squealing, and they didn't know what to do, so they knocked him out. Okay.
This is before it even went into the hole, remember? So it's freaking out. It's they bring it to the edge. It's kind of stunned, and then it kind of regains its sense of awareness. It's freaking out. The sheep in the crate, it's losing its mind.
Oh, they didn't even put him down yet. Okay, I missed that. I thought they put him down. And yeah, all right. Okay, so maybe I'm going to change my vote. We'll keep going though. I haven't changed my vote just yet.
So they're about ready to put it down the hole. Let's play 24. See what happens.
All right, 24. Where's that? So many clips running. All right, action.
We take the sheep, and it's screaming, and just the most piercing, horrible, ghastly noises coming out of this crate until we get it right over where we're going to let it into the hole, and then everything just stops dead silent. There's not a sound coming out of that box. There's movement coming out of the box. You could still tell.
But no sound.
There's no sound anymore.
Well, there's something about this hole and sound, isn't there?
I guess we will make that assumption. And so we started winching this sheep down into the hole, and you can feel from the line as we're lowering it, the thing is struggling, fighting. I don't know if it's screaming down there, but we're not hearing this thing screaming. And I think we got about halfway down into the hole, and I was about to say 700 feet, and then the any movement that might have been coming from the crate, we couldn't
feel it anymore.
No, we couldn't feel anything. So I don't know, at 700 feet or so, about half the line, what happened over there. When we got to at this point here, the original experiment with the ice, we were kind of nonchalant about it. We just kind of lowered it down there. Well, with this one here, we were all gathered around the top of the hole there, looking in, seeing what's going on.
Very apprehensive.
This is a serious business here.
Serious business. Okay, the poll is still up. Would you volunteer to go into Mel's hole after hearing all this now? Answer 1, hell yes, get me in there. Number 2, hell no, not in a million years. And number 3, what's in it for me? All right, take the poll. If you're not on Facebook, go ahead and type it in, and we'll add it to the results here. And it is allowed in the archive, so if you want to vote in the archive after this, go ahead and take the vote. But yeah, all right. So we got some shenanigans, and we got some maybe sheep on a plate, dinner style, right?
So this thing was freaking out. It was panicking, making noise. They get it over the hole. It quiets down. There's no noise, but it's still moving around. Then they start lowering it down, and then it stops. It's not shifting around in the crate. They can't feel the line moving back and forth. So what happened to this damn thing? Let's play 25.
Here, that put 25. 25, guys. 25. There we go. And action.
Vibrated, or it felt like a vibration, and sort of like a staticky electricity type kind of feeling. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That we could feel up there.
Yeah.
And so we got it down to 1,500 feet, and we left it there for about a half an hour. And then we decided to bring it back up.
Right. Sure.
So we're hoisting this thing up here, cranking away, getting this thing up on there, and it's kind of a job. So we finally get up to the surface, and we got the box out of there, and the one thing we notice is there isn't any movement in the box. Okay, there's no box. We got the box there, And but the box from the outside looked pretty normal. You know, it didn't look like some weird transformation had occurred or anything.
Right.
Oh, I wanted to describe to you how we're going to tell you about the ice that came up that didn't melt.
Right.
What it felt like. You get a lot of electronic equipment, and you get those do not eat packets.
Oh, yes.
The desiccant.
Yes.
You ever take the desiccant out of the packet?
No, never.
No? Well, if you take it out there and you feel the desiccant between your fingers, that's kind of what it felt like. That's the best thing I could describe it at. I had that sort of. You try it someday, and
right.
you'll.
Yeah, I've always just thrown those away.
Oh, well, you don't eat them, obviously.
No.
Okay, so I just struck me there that, I'm trying to describe this thing in the detail that I can, and so I just led back to the desiccant. But we open up the crate, and the sheep is dead. It looks like a sheep. Okay, it looks like a normal sheep over
right.
there,
and it's dead.
It's dead. There's no sign of life. You poke at it. There's nothing going on with this sheep here. He's dead. Well, I'm saying here, but that's a generic he. And I don't know from sheep. Okay, you show me a sheep, I can't tell what it is.
Gotcha.
Okay, some more gory details about the sheep and how it was not having a pleasant time going into this hole. And this is amazing. And I'm kind of with Philip. Philip here on Facebook says, "Yeah, I'd still go in. F it. We got to know what's in the hole." There you go, Philip. If we ever go to war, man, I want you on my team. We say take that, or somebody tells you and I take that hill. Damn right. Yes, sir. Let's take that hill. I don't give a damn how many Nazis are up there. Let's go get it. Yeah, no, crazy stuff, right? Okay, so this sheep is in bad shape 100 different ways. Is it at least going to be dinner, Frank, or is it too turned inside out to really bother with that?
Okay, let's play the final part of this sheep saga. Let's play 26, and then we'll read the poll afterwards, because we need to know before it gets to the good part. We're not even there yet. Let's play 26. Let's hear.
All right, not even in the good part. Action.
We take it out of the box, and one of the Basques lays it on the table that we have over there, and he is going to dissect the sheep.
Oh.
Now, on the outside, the sheep looked just fine. That the hair, that the wool, whatever a sheep has, looks fine. Look like we said that the sheep looked like how he looked when we sent him into the hole.
Minus a bump on the head, yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, and he stirred from that. But he started cutting into the sheep, and it looked like the sheep had been cooked. It was the flesh was hot underneath. When he started cutting through the sheep here, it looked like the sheep had been cooked.
Oh my!
Now these Basque guys, they're pretty good at butchering a sheep there, and they know their way around a sheep, and so they pretty much can butcher and they know what to expect when you open up a sheep.
Right.
So. We got the sheep on this table that we just eat at, and this guy's cutting the sheep open here, and he gets it so he can look inside and see the internal organs, like he's going to eviscerate the sheep.
Right.
Except they're not what we expected.
What do you mean?
It looks like there was gel in the cavity there, and something that looked like this huge tumor. And almost taking up the entire length of the body cavity.
Oh no!
I mean, it's pretty hideous.
All right, can I change my vote? Jesus.
So yeah, anyone who said you're going down the hole, I'm sorry. You are now dead. You're cooked. Your internal organs have been removed, and you have a giant tumor growing inside of you. So, what was the results of that poll? Do we have?
Yeah, sorry, Philip, you and I are toast, buddy. But we got so right now the poll is hell yes, get me in there is 15%. Hell no, not in a million years is 54%, and we got what's in it for me is 31%. So that's where we're at. It's ever changing, but there you go. If you guys now knowing what you know about this hole, continue to take the poll, of course. And we have Tim on YouTube said nope, not going in there. There we go. There's the additions. I don't see anybody else that is voted externally, but there you go. The poll is on Facebook. If you want to take the poll, would you volunteer to go into Mel's Hole? Just type it in the chat. We'll add it to the results as we go. And that's the numbers keep changing, but that's where we're at currently. So there you go. Sorry, Philip. We're dead, buddy. Too many Nazis. Oh,
so just like the dog in the previous story, just like here in the sheep, just like the ice, it seems to have this effect on things, just like the plants around it. It transmutes them. It changes them somehow. And just like that coin, just like the gun, all of it just has this weird effect. So you have the sheep, no internal organs. It's cooked. It's full of gel, sticky gel, and there's a giant tumor inside. So what do they do with the tumor? Well, they cut that open too. And this is where it gets real bizarre. So let's play 27 here about that.
That gets worse. All right, action.
But there's this huge tumor taking up most of the where the internal organs would be, so forth, the heart, the lungs, whatever parts the sheep comes with, they weren't there.
And what are these Basque guys who are doing this saying at this point?
Well, some of them are muttering plenty of expletives over here.
Uh-huh.
And they're freaked out there, and I remember saying, "Hey, see, I told you didn't want to go into that hole."
That's right. And the two guys who volunteered in my first hour are probably rethinking it right now too.
Well, if they want to collect on some life insurance, fine, go for it. But
that's what one of them said. Yeah.
Anyway, so we got this gel, and guy's good with a knife here, and he kind of is able to get the tumor out of this thing here.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's about as big as the sheep's cavity. I don't know, 2 feet long.
In other words, the tumor was almost taking
like
up the entire inside of the. Oh. Ugh.
Okay, so you got this tumor, and we could see that the tumor had some movement to it.
What?
Yes, it had movement to it, and I'm going to describe it like a heart beating.
Ah.
But there's not a beating of a heart. Just like a pulsing from this tumor.
A pulsing tumor. Oh, my God, Mel.
So we get to the point where we got this tumor out there, and, he's working on trying to cut it open. It's like really a tough thing to cut into, but he was finally able to get into it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have a pulsing tumor, and this is relevant to the conversation here. Who said this? Who said this? This is too good. I can't pass this up. This is just too low-hanging fruit. Who said this? Who said this? Oh, Kurt, what's up? It's not a tumor! Okay, there we go. If it's pulsing, it's not a tumor. All right, so there. If you get the reference, fine. If you don't, I'm sorry. It was funny. Okay, and Philip adds, yeah, it's cool. At least we had the nuts to go in. So Philip and I are roast beef dinner. Okay, so this thing comes up. There's a pulsing tumor. There's all kinds of nastiness. So this is again, I think anomalous is probably light to describe this at this point. Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, definitely. This it just keeps getting weirder and weirder. So they got this tumor out, 2 feet long, took up the inside. It's a big, hefty tumor too, or some kind of embryo maybe. It's pulsing. It's breathing. And this guy's cutting into it. He wants to see what's inside this damn thing. And that makes sense to me. That's what we would do. So he cuts into it. And, well, let's play 28 and hear what happens.
All right. One more real quick before we play 28. Dale says, I wouldn't touch that hole with a 10-foot pole. The jokes keep coming. You guys are great. Keep the whole jokes coming. All right. Wait, you said 28? Is this the seal? 28? All right.
How does a seal work into this? Let's play 28.
Action.
Boy, I'm going to tell you here. He opens it up there, and inside this tumor is what it appeared to be a fetal seal. Like
a fetal what?
Seal, like a pinniped, a thing that lives in the ocean that balances balls on his nose.
Yes.
It's about 18 inches long. It's got the flippers on it, and it looks like a little seal. It looks just like your basically your little seal, except it had what, and I don't know. I don't want people to freak out, but it had what looked to me like human eyes. Like a human being. I mean, you know what like cat eyes look like?
Oh yeah.
You know what dog eyes look like?
Oh yeah.
I don't know what seal eyes look like, but I know what human eyes look like.
Sure you do.
And this thing looks like had human eyes. And the thing was alive, but it was connected to the tumor, like with this umbilical cord.
Holy mackerel, Mel.
And we could see the seal moving his eyes, and it was, and I'm calling it a seal, okay, but I have no idea what the heck this thing is, okay? I'm calling it a seal. But it's opening his eyes, it's closing it, the flippers are moving, it's still connected to its tumor there. And then we noticed, and I noticed, that it seemed to be studying us. It seemed to be looking at us. That was the feeling I got. It seemed to be regarding us while we were looking at it. And so that's the feeling I got off of this seal.
Okay, dear God. So not only are Philip and I roast beef on the plate, and we have now turned into a autonomous tumor that looks like a seal with human eyes. Wait, but not all of us, just part of us. Okay. Holy shit. Here's your baby seals, guys. There we go. We worked it in. Holy shit, Frank. What is going on here?
So this seal baby with human eyes and human intelligence has been cut out of this tumor that was inside a living sheep and is now sitting there outside this hole on the table looking at them. This seal baby is looking at them, studying them. And what does it do? Well, let's play 29 and find out.
All right, I've got a dog freaking out. Give me 30 seconds when we'll play 29. Kelly adds, you go down the hole, it's the upside down. I kind of agree. Give me 30 seconds, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems whatever goes down this hole, plants, dimes, handguns, seals, sheep, it comes out different, comes out changed. And there's been a lot of speculation over the years of what exactly is happening. And it seems to mirror on like some kind of different dimension. You go into this different dimension and the properties of physics, properties of whatever are changed. And who knows if this seal went down the hole and then it came back, they said 30 minutes later, but maybe it was down that hole in this other dimension for years, days, enough for a seal to grow, to gestate inside of it in this tumor. I have no idea.
Are you time traveling?
This is real strange, though. Yeah, if it's a different dimension, if they're down there, time could work differently down there. So who knows?
Yeah, totally. Okay, which clip was this? One more time. Remind me.
29.
29. And thank you for the time action.
And then this thing separated from the tumor without our assistance, because we thought, well, maybe we'll cut this thing free.
Right there on the table.
It was right there, and it moved about a little on the table.
Yeah.
You know, so we're all standing back at that point because this thing is loose. You know,
I'll be way back.
And you know, we're watching this seal, and again, that's the only way I could describe it because it looked like a seal to me.
You and I.
And then I felt, well, I just felt I was in the presence of something extraordinary, something beyond extraordinary, something like, I don't know. I'm not a religious man, but it felt in that category of having a religious thing there. This was just such a stunning thing to witness.
Well, something that far from our understanding would appear to be magic or religion or whatever you want to call it, I'm sure. Yeah, so what God's name happened to this thing?
Well, we left it there, and it began to, you know, it just kind of looked at us there, and, you know, one of the Basques suggested we kill it, you know, and, you know, just kind of club it, and unfortunately, and, but, you know...
is that what they did?
No, basically cooler heads prevailed. The thing was moving around on the table, and it finally moved to the edge of the table.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like struggling, but it got to the edge of the table.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was going to fall off.
Right.
So I go up to it at this point, because I'm just like out of my head with I don't know what I'm in the presence of. And it looked directly at me when I got up to it, and it seemed, you know, it seemed to have a contact with me. And I got this compelling feeling to pick it up and place it on the ground. And I did that. I took this thing and I put it on the ground by a table.
Okay. So this goddamn seal is much like these goddamn gray aliens. It seems like it has some kind of mental powers. right? It's giving them this sense of peace, this sense of wonder, this religious sense. And we've heard that with these abduction cases several times is, oh, I wouldn't fight back against these aliens. They're my friends. They're taking me up. They're teaching me things. Fuck no. You pull out your gun, you put a couple of rounds in these goddamn aliens. And the same thing here. I would have clubbed that seal instantly, looking at me with human eyes, crawling out of my sheep that it just took over. And somehow it's instilling in them this sense of peace and this sense of wonder. I don't know. So it seems there must be some kind of mental or spiritual aspect to this.
Yeah, this is too funny. So ways up in the chat, somebody mentioned at first when we brought up the baby seal, it was like, "Oh, club it." I was like, "Oh, come on, that's just too much, guys." And then it says, "Clip, oh, I'm not going to club it or something, or maybe I'm going to club it." The vast people said, "Club it." Oh boy. Okay, so and not only that, so we have a baby seal, and the baby seal has some sort of calming powers. Oh boy. Yeah, I think if ever a tumorous baby seal with human eyes deserved a club, Frank, I think I'm with you on this one. It's time to knock this sucker over the head, put a couple shells in it, and then we'll determine where we're at. If nothing happens to it, I think it might be time to get the F out of there. Yeah, this is crazy. This is crazy. Okay, yeah, this is getting nuts. This is getting more nuts. Okay, so this is hole number 2 of Mel's Hole, and this has just gone off the rails entirely. The first one was like, okay, wait, what? Now this is like, holy shit, what's going on? So yeah, all right. If you're still with us, congratulations. All right, where are we going, Frank?
Yeah, so now notice in this next clip, we'll play clip 30. And I think we're going to have to go a little long today, if you don't mind. We got to finish this up.
No problem, man.
Clip 30, you'll notice there's a bit of a weird time dilation effect going on. So we'll hear that. Listen for that in this clip. Much like these abductions, we've heard that before. Time seems to, you lose time, right? So let's play clip 30 to hear about that.
My hands were slimy from the seal because it had like this goo that was not only in the cavity but also inside the tumor. And I'm just calling it a tumor because I have no vocabulary for this.
Right.
And I just moved my hands past my face before I decided to wipe them off on the rag at the table there.
Right.
And it smelled like ozone.
Like ozone smells like? Ozone, of course I do, yes.
That's what it smelled like when because I thought it would be some like sort of weird organic-y smell.
Yeah.
You know, some sort of like disgusting. I just thought it would smell disgusting. It smelled like ozone.
Okay.
So this thing is lying on the ground, and we're all looking at this thing here, and it's like looking at each of us in turn.
In other words, intelligently.
Yes. Yes. We must have been there just absolutely transfixed by this, I'll call it a creature now, for like 2 hours. Just.
And what was it doing during those 2 hours? I mean,
studying each one of us.
It wasn't moving around that much?
Just its head. Because we had gathered, well, this is cowardly, but a safe distance away from it, but not too safe, you know. So we could easily see it, and they could easily see us. Because at this point here, even the bravest Basque were like, you know, kind of freaked out.
Okay.
I mean, you got a club. You got to get rid of that thing immediately.
I still go back to the have chuckles randomly through the week when I think back to Frank's statement. No, hell no! I want the alien kids to be afraid of me. Yeah, Frank, you're amazing. Yeah, no, I mean, so this is that exact instance, right? So who knows what happened to these things? So this sheep turned into a baby seal tumor with sentient human eyes, and it's giving you some sort of everybody calm down sensation with its mind reading or what would you call that? Is that not telekinesis? That's telepathic ability. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, holy shit. Yeah, this is crazy. This has gone off the rails, Frank. I love it. This is what we do this for.
I told you, this is the greatest story ever told, and it may be true, it may be false, but however you look at this, especially with all the facts, remember that whalebone in the tree. He's talking about this whalebone stuck in a tree inland in Ellensburg, Washington. Well, guess what? There is a tree, and there is a whalebone in it. So this guy's working in all these real details, and this story is amazing. What do you say we go look for this hole one day up there in northern Nevada? We got to find it.
I'm curious now. I'm curious. Hey, Philip, if I find it, man, you're going down there with me. Sorry, you're locked in. Okay, so yeah, I'm with you, Frank. Let's do this, buddy. Let's find it. Maybe we'll make a trip, right? You can swing by Area 51. If you don't get arrested, maybe you can go find Mel's Hole after that. Oh boy. Notice here's an important part, right? So for many of you that are not familiar with the United States, on the eastern side of the country, most of that is private land. On the western side of the country, there's a ton that is actual BLM land, like Art Bell was saying there, which is the Bureau of Land Management, right? And so it's technically public land, but it's really not, right? So it's only accessible as long as they allow it to be. So they can section it off, because just like everything government, it's like, oh yeah, it's yours until we deem it not yours anymore. And so that's what a lot of the western states are, except in California, of course, California, of course. It's not like, but like Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, like there's a lot of actual BLM land in there. So just of note that it's kind of like they call it public land, but you can only access so much of it. So anyway, if you weren't familiar with that, it is a thing. Look it up, and yeah, there we go. Anyway, so of note. But all right. So let's continue with these tumorous seals with telepathic abilities, Frank.
Yeah, just a bit of a segue on that note. It's interesting that in the missing 411 cases, it's all in this public land, these national parks, this BLM land. It's not on private land that people go missing in these hotspots. It's all in this public land. So pretty weird, pretty strange. Let's play 31. Let's see what the seal's about to do.
We went up to it there, and it just looked at us here, and the look that it was giving us was, the only way I can describe it, it was like the most compassionate look that I'd ever seen from any face.
Mm-hmm.
It just, the way the eyes were looking and feeling this, and so some amount of time elapsed, and the little seal there starts to waddle again towards the hole, and I get this feeling that it wants to go up on the ledge, on the collar.
Right.
So I pick it up in my hands and I set it right there on there. And it moves around a little bit, and then at this point we're pretty comfortable with this thing. I am. And my comrades there are pretty comfortable with it. I mean, we're not like freaked out anymore like we were. And maybe it's just, we're over the shock, or maybe we are in shock. But that look that was giving us, it didn't seem like an evil thing or a horrible thing. It seemed like,
I'm sure you were in some state of shock.
Yeah. So it's up there, and then it moves around. I don't know how. Maybe an hour. He's on it
is on the ledge.
The collar. It looks at us. It actually nodded at us. It made like a slow nod, and he turned around and went back into the hole. At this point, we were close to it, so we watched him go all the way down as far as we could see, and we didn't have high-powered lights or anything, so no sound, nothing like that. It
into the hole, and that was it.
Into the hole, and so we were all just moved, just drained. I'm drained telling you this, Art, because it is such an enormous thing to go through.
I think Kelly may be right here. We're dealing with the upside down, right? Anybody seen the new Stranger Things? You seen that, Frank? Come on, you seen that. I saw half of it. It's pretty good. Netflix. We're not associated and not paid to say that. It's just really good. So, okay. And this thing wants to go home, right? So somehow, some way, it gets lowered in. It turns into this tumorous... Okay, let me back up. The sheep gets lowered in. It turns into this tumorous mass that they cut out from this thing. It turns into like a sentient seal-like object with human eyeballs that has some sort of telepathic ability, and eventually the thing just wants to crawl back into the hole, right? Is that where we're at here? This is amazing.
Yeah, and it jumps back in the hole, and they watch it sink to this is Sparta from 300, except this thing went back in willingly. So what's down this goddamn hole? What's down there? It seems like it brainwashed them too, right? Oh, such a peaceful look, such a divine, inspiring moment. No. This seal brainwashed you. And it was clearly up to something in those intervening 3 to 4 hours, because it was out there on the edge for 3 to 4 hours, in case you didn't catch that. Could you stand there for 3 to 4 hours, just like making eye contact with this bizarre aberration? I couldn't. I'd be clubbing that thing 2 seconds after it came out of the tumor.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think given the circumstances of all of this, I don't think you would wait that long and let this thing just kind of slobber around like a slug and like kind of jump back in the hole. No. Yeah, so yeah, maybe it is, right? Maybe there was some sort of some mind meld action, some like I said, what is it? Whatever it is, mind control business. Yeah, I wouldn't be calm. So if you're having like a calming experience and that's happening in front of you, you are either sick or you are maybe under some sort of a spell. Yeah, crazy stuff. All right, so so Frank, you're still not going in the hole. You haven't changed your mind.
No, I'm putting people down the hole. I'm not going in the hole, and I'm killing whatever comes back.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, so this thing crawls into the hole, and tell me this doesn't get worse. Does this shit get worse? No.
Gets weirder. Let's play 32 and hear what happens.
All right, action.
I will let you know that we at first we decided we thought we would bury the sheep's carcass and the tumor.
Yeah.
We still had that, and we decided it was just best to take the whole thing and put everything back into the hole where it all came from.
Yeah.
So we just let it be. We had a tarp on we just dumped the whole everything back into the hole where it came from. I didn't know what else to do. We thought about burying it, and it just didn't. I don't know. It just didn't seem right. That I thought it would, and so that's what we did.
Okay.
Again, so some kind of brainwashing. Like, you'd want proof of this event. You'd want to do DNA testing on this thing. You'd want to have proof to take to the media to get it studied. That's his whole goal, is to figure this stuff out, to get answers. And he just throws it back in. I don't buy it.
Yeah, that's a little weird. So yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you, peeps. Tamarin and Dale say telepathic. That's what I was looking for. So it's like it's some sort of it's like mind meld connection sort of thing, right? Like peaceful. I'm peaceful. Don't injure me. I'm peaceful. Okay, all right. So, more and more weird. Okay, so this is Mel's hole number 2, right? You did hint there was a third hole eventually.
Yeah, it's not Mel. Mel disappears probably into a shallow grave by the end of this, but there is a third hole, and we can do that in a future episode. We got a few more clips here. Let's get through the end of this hole because some even crazier stuff happens. Let's play 33 because something happens to Mel. Something good, bad, I don't know. Let's play 33 and hear about it.
I guess we'll find out. Action.
Prior to going to Nevada, this was in late August, I was diagnosed with a particularly lethal form of esophageal cancer.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
This was a like the kind of to see you have 6 months to live, but they're just telling you that. That there's like nothing they can do, but it was very fast growing. And one of the reasons I came back here was to see the same doctor because I started feeling a lot better. And my last examination with the doctor finds me cancer-free. I can't explain it.
Then you could document this, right? Because
he had because they had whatever stuff diagnosing the cancer, and I went back to the doctor, and they could find no evidence of any cancer.
Is it your feeling that your proximity to the hole or something about the hole changed this?
I think it was the seal.
The seal?
I think it was the seal.
The seal?
I described this thing as this huge tumor. And that's what I had. But I described it as a tumor because that was the only vocabulary I had to describe it with.
Gotcha.
And I handled this.
Well, that's right, you did.
And I smelled the ozone from it, and it just, the look that it gave me, there was something going on. And I can't say, look, I was communing with this seal and I was, had this conversation with this seal. No, I can't say that. But what I can say is that I had this feeling of such incredible compassion from this seal.
Wow. So the mind meld goes past just a moment. This guy is seriously telepathically brainwashed from afar, from possibly a different dimension at this point. So, whoa, what's going on here? Is that seriously a thing, Frank? You think you can actually control somebody's mind compassionately from a different dimension? Down Mel's hole?
Yeah, I don't know. You have to think about this a couple of ways. Maybe it just did. Maybe it was beneficial. It cured his cancer, like you said. It looked at him and it just did some kind of magic, and all of a sudden he's cured of cancer. Or maybe the seal convinced them all to go down the hole, and it changed them all. That's my theory, anyway.
Okay, so it's like a invasion of the body snatchers type of thing, but with a tumorous seal with human eyes and telepathic ability, right? Jesus, you couldn't even write this. like
Remember,
think about it. Yeah, right?
Yeah, they were there for 3-4 hours just staring at this seal creature. I don't buy that for a second. I think something happened in that intervening time, especially if it's cured of cancer all of a sudden. I don't.
Yeah, definitely something amiss here. So tragic, he got cancer, but then he's cured by it, and he thinks it's the seal. So the tumor, he doesn't really have a name for it. He doesn't know how to describe it. So he goes back and forth from the tumor to the seal. Wow. Okay. All right. Like I said, I am entertained. I'm definitely entertained. So, the poll is up, guys. If you want to change your mind on the poll, I don't think you can. But would you volunteer to go into Mel's Hole? Hell yes, get me in there. Hell no, not in a million years. Or what's in it for me? If you are on some other platform other than Facebook where the poll is, type it in the chat and we'll add it to the result, and we'll keep on trucking. And this poll will continue in the archives. So if you're listening on Facebook and you want to take the poll later, go ahead and do that. It is open to you. Oh, and by the way, this show is live. I don't think I mentioned that one time tonight. Holy shit, Frank. But so we do have, if you want to give us a call and tell us what you think about Mel's Hole, think about the seals, the telepathic business, the tumors and the sheeps and whatever the hell's going on here, we will take your call. We'll put you on. Just please keep it brief because we had a bunch of information to get to. But 702-957-1037. Go to troubledminds.org and join the Discord. You can get in there and talk to Frank and Mike and whoever might be listening. And here we go. Here we go. All right. Tell me it gets worse, Frank. Or tell me it gets better. Tell me it gets better.
Things happen. So the people around him were also changed too, in a way. So let's play 34 here about that real quick.
All right, 34, action.
First of all, the Basque that I were with, they were young guys, okay, and I think before this kind of your kind of shiftless sort of characters, partiers and all of that, and they were like just profoundly moved. I mean, they were just had stuff going on in their mind after that they had been to another place, another time, anything. Their reality had been all changed.
Ah, so just like everything else, right? So the weird mint marks on the coins, the dog that goes in dead but shows up alive somehow a couple days later. Again, we have this weird anomalous stuff happening around this hole. So suggesting it is something supernatural and not just like a standard sinkhole here. Lots of information, lots of stuff to kind of wrap your mind around, but what the hell? What the hell, right? We find ourselves in this spot now. What the hell's actually going on? We did have actually somebody post this. I linked it for you, Frank. Let me put this up. So somebody, I apologize for not catching your name. It was so long ago. Somebody in chat posted this and said they found Mel's Hole. And so they got the actual GPS coordinates of Mel's Hole in the United States. So there we go. Yeah, I've got it up. There it is. It's on the screen. And if you want to screen cap it and find it and maybe go do your due diligence and go look for it yourself, there it is. According to latitude.to. And yeah, there we go. Anyway, so again, this is of course unverified because if everybody knew where Mel's Hole was, everybody would be, kicking it, barbecuing tumorous seals. Oh boy, that's think about that, right? All right, so if you drop a sheep down the hole, or even get it close, and it becomes tumorous, and a seal spits out of its guts, then you got a seal and a sheep to barbecue, right? I mean, are we in good shape there? Isn't that like that's like double dipping? That's not even fair. All right.
I mean, club the seal, yes, but eat it afterwards? No, I don't think so.
No?
You never know
Okay.
what's wrong with it. You never know if it's going to infect you or do something. Now, someone posted in the chat here, I saw, if this was real, the FBI and CIA would be all over it. Well, that's exactly what happened to his first hole, right? Is he went on the air, he talked about it today. They said, a plane crash has happened on your property. You're not allowed access. And then the military took the entire thing over. So that did happen to the first hole anyway.
Yeah, no, yeah, and there was a military presence. So back to the original again. Go listen to the first version of this, which is again on the SoundCloud. If that's the best way to find it right now, because it's definitely on SoundCloud. I promise you, everything takes sometimes days to propagate to the others, but it is on the podcast feed, and you can listen to that if you want to catch up. But in that, the government actually moved in, and so he had like a quarantine situation. He couldn't get back on his ranch. There was a whole bunch of this actually happening, so the government was involved. This isn't one of those like, nobody's paying attention. And so they're apparently the ones that bought him off for $4 million a year, and he went to Australia to open that. What was it, the Wombat Rescue?
Yeah, the Wombat Rescue Foundation.
Oh dear God. Okay, all right. So tumor seals, squealing sheeps, and anomalous holes. Insert whole jokes. All right, what happens next?
Yeah, so let's play. That's the end of the seal for now. He does come back, and again, this is going to go another half hour, 45 minutes, so strap in your seatbelts. But let's play 35, because he's talking to the people around the area, talking to the elder Basque tribe members, and something interesting happens. So let's play 35 here.
Right before I left, I went back into civilization and spoke with a Basque elder.
Yes.
And this was the elderly fellow that I was referring to that told me some of the history of that he was in there, he remembered it from being a young man, and he described it to me and all of this stuff here. And we had because his thing was he himself would go there to that area for spiritual connection, that there was something very spiritual, very primal that was going on. He was a tough guy to talk to in some ways, because he was more schooled in Basque than he was in English, but he got English out enough for me to understand. And so we talked actually at great length about the meaning of this. We did have some of the Native American people that I was work with at that particular thing. This was kind of like a party sort of atmosphere out there. We were drinking what they like to drink, and and eating the good Basque food and all of that. And it was a good experience there to kind of decompress from all of this. And so, but he could not relate to me any experience like what we had, except he knew. He almost expected what it was that I was telling him. He just totally, firmly, completely believed what it was that I was telling him. And there was no surprise to him at all in this thing here. So I got this really old Basque guy there, and he's just taking all this in stride and nodding, and
Yeah.
So he knows there's something enormous of great enormity there, and my goal is to go back. I have agreed to work with the people I was working with the herbs, and live amongst them and spend some time with the tribal members and some time with the Basque.
All right, we got the this is bizarre, right? So we have the tribal members and the Basque, right, which are tribal members from Spain and Portugal. This is too much, Frank. I don't know, man. Like you can string me along so far. I don't know. I'm not sure I'm feeling this at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get to the point where you're like, wait a minute. Telepathic tumorous seals that crawl back into the hole. Basque people, Native Americans, and, yeah, I don't know. There's even more. I'm missing stuff, but holy shit. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's quite a tale, isn't it? So it could be true, could be false. It's entertaining listening either way you look at it. But, you know, the story lines up. These people contacted him, or so he claims. And even go back to the very beginning of this tale. He wasn't brought on the air. He just sent Art Bell a fax. You know, he just sent him a fax saying, I need some help. Here's my story. And then Art Bell kind of turned this into a big phenomenon. So I don't know. You're right. It is kind of crazy. It is kind of weird. But then you get these people calling in and verifying it, right? Like this dime, the belt buckle, the handgun, the beams of light, the beams of black light. All these people calling in and verifying the story. So you think about it that way. I don't know. Is he hiring these people to lie? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so according to Art Bell, of course, he did say that a lot of this was corroborated. He had his neighbors saying that, yes, they were aware of the hole. It's been there for a very long time. The original in Washington State. And so now he's moved on to the second one. He found one in Nevada. Yeah, I don't know. Again, right? So it seems like, I don't know, a little bit, unless he was looking for one, right? Now, this is the crazy part, right? So if you want to find something and you look hard enough, it almost seems like you can find it, right? Like in this crazy world we live in, it almost seems like if you want it to be, it will be. It's, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Is this one of those arguments for we're living in a simulation, right? And so maybe Mel wanted it so bad to have a second hole that a second hole manifested for him personally from some universal power or some programmer and some algorithm. I don't know, man. Like, again, like this type of thing makes me wonder about larger things, larger questions. And yeah, here we are wondering about larger questions. Whoa.
Yeah, and you look at this story and you think, well, what about Skinwalker Ranch, right? That's in the area over in what's the Montana? No, I can't remember the state Skinwalker Ranch is in, but it's in the area. It's in that southwestern corner. Same kind of stuff happening. Stuff from other dimensions, weird lizard creatures. We did a whole show on that. You can go back and listen. But there have been scientists there. Some guy, Bob Bigelow, right? He bought that property for millions of dollars and held on to it for years and years. So there must be something to it. There must be something to these stories if people are putting money into it, because money is the ultimate tell. If they're spending money, there's a reason for it.
There's a reason. Funny you say that. A couple minutes ago, Dale, what's up, Dale, on Facebook said, maybe Bob Bigelow will buy the hole. Maybe he already did. Maybe he bought Skinwalker, right? So maybe, yeah, I think here we go. We got some connections here. And I think you're right? So it's not a situation where if this was just a complete and utter joke hoax, people wouldn't spend money on these things, right? And so suddenly, maybe it's not. Maybe it is. Maybe it's one of those situations where it was purchased or leased by the government in perpetuity, as they said. And maybe, right? Maybe they're protecting this now. Of course. So remember, if the government is still paying this $4 million a year to his ex-wife that has now disappeared, then they still control this original hole, right? So it would make sense that there's a lot of this. I don't know, what would you call it? Government shenanigans happening, right? Like the Black Project type stuff. Who knows? So you hinted that Mel had an untimely demise, possibly. Let's head toward that.
Yeah, let's keep going. I gotta keep trucking through this. Play 36. Basque gives him a gift, and the gift is quite impressive. So play number 36.
The final thing, because we were talking about the Basque elder that I was talking to, and it was a very profound experience for me to talk with him. And though he was not that much older than me, I felt that he was a great deal older than me.
Wiser.
Beyond that. So I know I could respect that. But we were sitting, there and talking well into the night, drinking that good Basque drink that they like to drink and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And he got tired, and he was going to retire for the night. And he took my hand, to clasp it. And in my hand, he put something in my hand when he was leaving.
Yes.
And he closed my hand.
Yes.
And he just told me, put that away. So he said, put that away. So I put it in my pocket and sat around talking with his family. And someone said, aren't you going to look at what, the great-grandfather gave you?
Uh-huh.
And I said, oh, okay. And so I take it out of my pocket, and it's a 1943 Roosevelt dime. They told me he had found a similar packet of Roosevelt dimes.
Oh, my God.
Up there in Nevada, Chinese red envelope. And they said, and I said to him, you know how valuable this thing is? I said, you know what this would sell at a coin auction? They said, no, you have to have it. You need to have this.
Do you have it now?
I have it. It's in my hand as we speak.
Okay, so this is that Roosevelt dime, right, with the bizarre mint mark that doesn't even exist in this universe. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So you remember in the first hole, he found a bunch of these dimes, and he even fashioned some of these dimes into his belt, clipped these dimes into the belt buckle. And then the government came along, they knocked him out, they dumped him in, I believe it was San Diego. And they just left him there, but they robbed him of his belt buckle, pardon me. And so he's finding these dimes. Now, I think we have a picture that someone managed to get. I don't know if this is legitimate or a recreation, but you can see the dime. Now, why is this important? Well, who cares about a goddamn dime? Well, first of all, you see do you have the picture open? You see the B on the left-hand side, right-hand side on that dime, the B mint mark. So mint marks are for the cities where there's a mint. Well, there's no city with a mint that starts with a B. So that's weird. Second thing weird about this is they only make dimes with people on them after they pass away. And so Roosevelt was still alive in 1943, but here he is on this dime. So it does seem to suggest like a different universe, a parallel dimension, something like that, in which there is a city starting with a B that has a mint in it, and which Roosevelt passed away before 1943.
Yeah. So and again, so it seems like there's a kind of like Kelly suggested. You go into the hole. There's some sort of upside downness with maybe alternate dimensions, or there's something happening here because. Well, obviously, go back if you want to learn more about the dime. Go back to the first episode, SoundCloud. It's up. It'll be on the rest of the podcast in the next several days as they propagate. But you can, yeah. I mean, it's if this is a fake, it's a good fake, right? Everybody's seen a dime. Everybody knows what a dime looks like. And so, if this is a done well, fine. Like you got us right. Good job. Nice fake. Whatever. But like, go into your metal shop. In your garage and fake a dime, right? Like it's not so easy. It's not as easy as it looks, especially to perpetrate a hoax as big as this is. I don't know. We got some good whole jokes I have to read. These are amazing. Dale says, Mike, are you saying he manifested the hole? Maybe. Maybe. That's what I'm saying, right? Like maybe he wanted it so bad he got another hole. And then Emin, our favorite spook from from Discord, if you haven't joined the Discord, come join Discord. Emin, what's up, says, my teenage years, I've been trying to manifest a hole. Well, there it is. There's the whole jokes, guys. Martin, what's up? Martin from Sweden, my island. How you doing, buddy? And yeah, there we go. And Dale adds B is for balls. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's just too far saying B is for balls, buddy. It's too far. Okay, all right. What's up, Jack? We see you, Jacketed Cone 713 on Mixer. You're amazing. Whatever that name means. Okay, all right. Let's go. So we're talking about Mel Soul. All right. So what did I miss in all my revelry, Frank?
Yeah, so he was there. They did the experiments with the ice. Remember, they put it down up. They could light the ice on fire, and it never seemed to dissipate. It could burn forever. Also, they put the sheep down the hole, and then this tumorous sheep came out, and a seal creature crawled out of it. And then finally, he gets this 1943 Roosevelt dime from the Basque Elder. And then he goes away for a while. No one really hears about him. No one knows where he went. He's just kind of gone. And this is the final update. He calls back in. The final update. So he's got some reports from the people on site, And let's get into this because some really weird stuff happened. So let's play number 37 and hear about the update 1 year after these events we've just heard.
The location where the hole is at has been under helicopter surveillance almost, I don't mean constantly, like 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
But there have been flyovers of that area
frequently,
like frequently.
Yeah.
But there's been no contact with the Basque that are there, that are encamped around there.
That's pretty odd, considering the military cordon that was thrown around the hole in Washington.
Well, yeah, that is, and I've yet to discern how they were able to mobilize so quickly on that. That's still a great mystery for me.
Nevertheless, you said
went on the radio,
you were reminding us a bucket of ice.
Yeah, but one thing, when I said they have had flyovers of the hole there in your state, I was told something very interesting, and that is that from certain approaches to where the area that they're in, you can see the encampment of people. You could see the Basque if you're standing there, say, on the hillside, but you cannot see the flange around the hole. I told you that with this hole, there was like a metal collar.
That's right.
A flange around. You cannot see that from a certain distance. You could see everything else, and the flange is huge. It's a very large metallic structure, that provides like a collar for this thing.
Okay, so
he spills the beans once again. He went on the air. He went on the Air Bell show. The first time, they took away his property. And then he goes on, and, well, what do you expect? They're going to try to do it again, right? They're going to try to get this second hole. He's like a hole-finding wizard, and the government just follows along and takes everything from him. I mean, come on. If you found a hole, the last thing you're going to do is talk about it. Just like if you found a gold mine in your backyard or some golden coins buried somewhere, don't tell anyone because the government's going to take it away. We all know that.
I think that's the theme of the show. That's one of the undercurring themes. If you're into inside jokes, hey, there it is. You just stumbled upon it. And if you find gold, don't tell anybody. Don't melt it down. Bring it a little nugget at a time to your local pawn shop. Get it for near market value. Good to go. There you go. There's my uneducated advice on this situation because I've never found any gold myself. But if you do, don't call the FBI.
Neither have I. I have never found gold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but if you do, if you call the FBI, guess what? They'll quarantine you and they'll confiscate it and say it's possibly Billy the Kid's treasure and it's a historical significance and you're not entitled. They are. Anyway, there we go. And we jest. This is all jokes. This is all inside show jokes. Everybody relax. If you're out there listening, government, relax. We're kidding. It's a joke. Of course, we would call the FBI immediately. My God. Okay, all right. Let's keep on trucking without the gold jokes.
Anyway, so he's back for an update. And you remember the ice that kept burning. Remember that guy who took the ice and put it in his fireplace. Remember that. Well, something weird happened with that. So let's play 38. Hear about that.
All right, 38. So many. Hear that? 38. There's a lot. All right. Kudos, Frank. Action.
The rest of the story here, because this is what I've been told.
All right.
He says, when you have a wood stove and you're burning wood, you generally will put a kettle on top of that wood stove.
Yeah.
And, to have hot water for coffee and to humidify the air.
Sure, whatever.
It dries out the air terribly. Well, this Basque fellow, he just did just that there, and he noticed there that the air was like really, really dry. He was always thirsty, and his skin was like flaking. I mean, this was like, I don't know, he must have been living in humidity lower than what you face out there in the desert, and so, he's got this kettle up on top there, trying to humidify the air. And one night he notices that, I don't know, it might have been the angle of the light or just whatever it was, but the steam from the kettle looked like it was being absorbed into the stove. And we're not saying like through the vents or, through the door or whatever.
Wait a minute. The steam from the kettle, which would have been going up, would be coming back down and then absorbed by the stove.
Yeah, it was like dispersing and then coming around and just like I guess the word to describe is lingering around, but it looked like it was being absorbed by the stove. That's the, I think that's the best picture I can.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's weird. All right, so we got steam moving from opposite directions.
Yeah, so he's got this ice bucket with this glass ice in his wood stove to heat his shack up. We heard about that before. And he's boiling water on top of his wood stove, and the steam is being absorbed by the ice. Does that make sense?
No, not really.
No,
not really. Not really.
Anyway,
I heard what you said, but it doesn't make sense.
It's like a desiccant, right? So this ice is burning, and whatever process is going on here, it seems to me anyway, this ice absorbs water in order to burn. It absorbs the moisture out of the air in order to burn.
Okay. All right. So there's, again, some sort of maybe upside down business going on with the physics here, according to whatever this thing that's come out of the ice that's turned into glass. It's become this internal heat source, and now the steam. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, right? Anomalous. You stack these things up. It's like a deck of cards of anomalous, right? You're just keep dealing cards. You're playing solitaire, and every single card anomalous. Jack of spades, yes, anomalous. Yeah, no, I don't know, man. This is crazy. All right, so
it is pretty crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead. I'm with you.
Yeah, let's play 39, see what happens, because something weird happens with this guy in his shack and his stove filled with this desiccant ice. Let's go, 39.
Action.
And then one day this guy comes home. He goes out and does his thing, and comes home and he notices that the stove had crashed through the hearth and through the floorboards of his cabin.
What?
It just went right down. It just broke. I mean, it was kind of a flimsy cabin, but it was able to support the weight of his wood stove and his.
So now a stove with this eternally burning ice is now through the floor.
It's in the ground. It's actually on the dirt. Maybe it fell about a foot into the ground at that point.
I wonder if this thing is going back from whence it came.
Well, that's what I want to know, and we're going to continue along with this here. But anyway, the stove is sitting down there. Now, this guy, sometimes I wonder about these guys, but, he's not too bright. So what he does is he patches up the stovepipe.
Yeah.
And so it connects to the chimney where, the flue, all that stuff there.
Yeah.
And he's kind of living in this cabin with this, stove.
You mean he's still using the stove?
Yeah.
He just extended the pipe?
Yes, that's exactly what he did. He just kind of lowered it down there. And as far as I could tell, though, it doesn't give off any gas or any smoke, no smoke or anything.
He made no attempts to bring it back up to fix the floor and do it right, huh?
No, he didn't.
So this goddamn stove is burning its way through the floor, burning into the ground, and it just keeps going. It keeps burning, keeps producing heat, and this guy, he says, okay, well, let's just leave it there, and who cares?
Who cares? Until the entire thing goes up in a damn inferno and creates a Mel's Hole Part 5. Come on, people. Let's club it like the seal. What's going on here? Holy shit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is where you have to wonder with all these cases, general people are not qualified to handle these phenomena. Let's assume everything here is real and he's actually resurrecting dogs and making revolvers that don't make a sound and, weird alien seal creatures and, ice that burns everything. Are people qualified to handle that? I know we think we are, but are we? Maybe that's why this is all kept secret.
No, hell no. Triple hell no. And maybe this lends us a little bit of belief in the Tom DeLonge business because they're giving them an inch when they should give them a mile. Who knows, man? This is the thing. People aren't qualified. I think people are amazing. I think people's intellect, people's spirit, people's work ethic, people's the drive to succeed. We're going to get to the moon, we're going to get to Mars, all these things, right? It's amazing. This bit of humanity is amazing. Except, right? When you're confronted with these types of things, people tend to make excuses, tend to maybe not do the things that make immediate snap choices they need to make. I don't know. Sometimes there are things that need to be done that people aren't willing to do. So, as great as people are, I think we kind of maybe you're right. Maybe we come into that contrast of maybe we're not as great as we think we are. Oh shit! Right? You feel me?
Yeah, definitely. Especially in this case. Let's play 40 and see what happens.
40. Holy shit! 40. We're up to 40. Action.
About, I don't know, a week, maybe 2 weeks later, he comes home, and the entire cabin has collapsed.
What?
Around us. The whole thing.
The whole thing?
Everything has collapsed around it. In fact, all there is around the site of the cabin is piles of wood dust. Wood dust.
Wood dust.
Wood dust.
So, in other words, his cabin disintegrated.
It basically looked like all of the moisture that was in the wood had been sucked out of it completely to the point that it could no longer exist as wood.
Okay, so maybe we are creating a third hole. Or maybe I was right? Maybe get rid of this shit. Get it out of your house immediately. Oh boy.
Yeah, maybe this is how the holes were created in the first place, is this ice. Let's keep going. Let's motor through these 41.
41. And action.
He had wood furniture in there, his bed and a chair or whatever.
Yep.
Wood dust. You could see the different colors of wood dust. And at that point, he abandons the cabin, gets the heck out of there.
Understood.
He says, hey, enough is enough. So he moves in with one of his brothers.
Yes.
And they're over there, and about a month later, he goes back to the cabin to show it to his brothers, and they find that the stove had sunk to like 5 feet into the ground.
This thing's on its way.
It's 5 feet into the ground, and it is still generating heat.
And still going.
And, at that point, all the dust had blown away, and, you got a few nails around there. And what you have is a rectangular hole, just a little bit bigger than the stove. So can you imagine a rectangular wood stove sinking into the ground, leaving his imprint? And there's a little bit of room around it, but not a lot. And he described that the hole that it made was also like really, 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 really smooth all around it. You think of a hole in dirt,
like it's burning its way through, like it's
melted into some sort of glassy type.
Maybe it's doing the same thing, and it's taking away all the moisture in the soil below it as it goes.
So it is. So, as you said, it appears that this is creating some sort of new hole, right? It's kind of maybe collecting the what would you call it? If you break down the water into the molecules and then start sucking them into the ether, the darkness of the upside down. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's what this hole's created. So this is happening. This is happening in this guy's place? No.
Yeah, in this guy's place, this is happening. So in the interest of brevity, I'll summarize. We won't go through the clips because they're kind of boring, but basically he calls the government. He realizes, well, there's a problem here. This thing's burning its way into the ground. We can't get it out. No one can get this thing out. So he calls up the people he originally contacted for his hole in Washington. And they show up with trucks and cranes, and they pull this thing out and cart it off. And they seem pretty panicked when he talked to them on the phone. They seemed like this is a big problem. We better deal with this right away. So he gives them the location of this cabin, and then they truck this thing out. They pull it out of the ground, and they take it off to who knows where. But that's the end of the ice story. Yeah, it seems like it's a dangerous substance after all.
Yeah, well, at least maybe not dangerous, right? I mean, depends on who you are, right? If you're the lamb, you turn into a tumorous seal. So, I mean, right? Like if you're the tumorous seal, maybe it's like it's birth. You've just been manifested into the universe thanks to Mel's hole. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, this is crazy anyway. So I did anyway, whatever details. But yeah, okay. So all right, this is possibly how the whole was created, right?
Yeah, maybe this is how it's made. Now to finish this story off, the seal comes back. The seal comes back out of the hole. So let's play 45 and hear about that.
All right, 45. All right, that's what I was about to say. But This is just show details you don't need to know. Here we go. Action 45.
What has happened here is that I have been told that the Basque have seen the same creature again and again, and they've had many experiences with the, well, I'm going to call it the seal creature. Now, you had a guy on your show, I'm told is red elk or red something.
Red elk, yes.
And he talked about these things, they're called rock flyers. And that's what he described them at. But he described these seal, he's like a Native Indian, kind of a Native American sort of guy.
Yes.
And he described these things as being rock flyers.
Well, that's an interesting name for them, rock flyers.
And he said they're these creatures that live down in the earth, but what I'm getting is the sense that they not only live in the earth, but they inhabit like different earths, and they are able to move between them.
Between them. All right. So I think rock flare, maybe is like the mind flare from the Upside Down. If anybody played old school D&D, the mind flare from the Upside Down in Stranger Things is from old school D&D, like 1981. Gary Gygax. Look it up. Anyway, okay. So is it a rock flyer? Is that the correct term? I don't know.
Yeah, rock flyer. So this thing, it flies out of the hole. I guess it grew up. It went down the hole. It grew up. It starts communicating with these people in the area. It tells them this ice is dangerous. And then, it's flying around. It's like talking through boom boxes. Again, we'll skip some of this stuff, but yeah, this thing's the back. The seal creature's back, and it's kind of haunting the area. Now, this is where he mentions that red elk character, and we saw him at the very beginning. This is why I brought this up earlier. I wanted to find some of his testimony about this rock flyer, because this is an old Native American legend about this thing that flies through the air, goes through different dimensions, and into the earth itself. Lots of Native American myths about things living in the inner earth. We've heard that before on our Inner Earth episode. But yeah, I couldn't find his testimony because they've taken it off the internet. But that's it. That's the last we hear from Mel. No more. He's gone. He disappears.
Oh, okay, so explain to me this. This is the thing that absolutely boggles my mind. So why have these things been actually taken down from YouTube, right? Like we're talking about this shit now. So, right, we haven't been actually, like, none of our stuff, well, I guess actually for copyright reasons we've been taken down, right? But we don't do hate speech. We don't say this guy or that guy is stupid because they're, whatever they look like. But it's I don't know, like if you find yourself in this situation where these things disappear from the internet, it makes me suspicious as hell. Because you can't, like that's the whole point, right? It's like, if it's not harmful, if it's not a detriment to national security, if it's not all these things, right? Like all these things that might actually, I don't know, like what harm could it do actually having, let's just assume that Mel's Hole is some sort of paranormal gateway into another dimension, or let's say it's just like an actual like Einstein-Rosen wormhole bridge to another part of our own universe. Like what's the harm, right? Like, isn't that unbelievably valuable in one way or another? It's just that's the thing that bothers me the most, right? So if this is innocuous and nothing to see here, and it's some stupid story and some stupid guy making shit up, right? Here we are in this situation where they're taking these videos down. Again, go back to the individual's website. It's Red Elk. Hold on, I'll pull it up and you can see it. You can see it all there. They've removed, just like when we did the Bob Lazar episode, a lot of the Bob Lazar stuff was removed. So it makes you wonder, right? Like, what we're talking about it now, and we're here and we're fine. And, I don't have Men in Black knocking on my door currently. We're not being taken off the internet. So what detail are we missing that did get taken down? You see what I'm saying, Frank? There's some sort of something there that they don't want you to know. And it's being plucked out. It's again, like I've said, the things that are on the internet are there for a reason, and the things that aren't there are not there for a reason. Oh, like what would you speculate we're missing here that might have been taken down from Red Elk and some of these other individuals on Mel's Hole?
Yeah, I'm not sure, because it's with all things, right? It's To the Stars Academy. Skinwalker Ranch, even Stardust Ranch with the guy samurai sword fighting aliens. What's that other one? The one where UFOs show up all the time at this other ranch. Drawing a blank on the name.
I don't know either. There's so many.
ESETI Ranch. Yeah, that's
ESETI,
it.
yeah.
But there's all these paranormal hotspots, even with missing 411, right? The Forest Service refuses to give the details about those people that go missing. So all these cases, it seems like there's an initial burst of information, and then afterwards it's slowly suppressed over time. Like the Forest Service loses the records of the people that go missing. Skinwalker Ranch, those details, they just don't go out. Bob Bigelow kind of suppresses the entire thing. Even with ATIP and these UFOs and UAPs, we get a trickling of details. So it seems like this stuff is happening, or something is happening in the background. And then they just kind of slow it down and suppress it. And we really can't get the hard details because either they get rid of them or they shut these people up. I don't know. But to me, it seems like something happened here with these two holes. And I actually believe there are holes in the ground. I don't know. I don't know what's going on because, yeah, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, again, so one more time. So think about it. Just like in the beginning we said, book burnings happen different ways, right? And so you look at this. This is redelkspeaks.com. And this is his links of a YouTube channel. So I don't know in particular everyone that's been taken down. I haven't clicked on them individually, but if you scroll down one more time, if you look at all of them, 75% of these have been taken down, right? So you wonder, he says some things that they allow and other things they do not allow. And I don't know. I think that's the thing that makes me most curious about this, because I think you may be right. Like it seems like some of this may be true to some extent, right? Maybe some's like everybody, right? Everybody has known a person that when they tell a story, they kind of exaggerate, right? They edge some details, they try and make a good story, and hey, my dick is 12 inches long, or whatever, right? Like ha 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 type of thing. It's not, but right, a lot of those stories may be BS, but a lot of those stories may be based in reality. And so when you have censorship like this, and again, one more time, I linked it, go to redelkspeaks.com, click on the audio video, and just scroll down and look. So all the stuff that's been embedded is gone. So what is this individual saying that's not acceptable to the technocracy, which is what this comes down to? Because this is YouTube, right? And of course, Google, and by proxy, they are some way, somehow being told what to do by the government, right? There's a partnership there. There's money flowing in, there's directions flowing out. I don't know. I think I'm with you, Frank. I think there's something to this. And how much is true, I don't know. I can't tell you. But I think we're in a situation where, me personally, I'm with you. I agree. There's some sort of hole, some sort of weird business going on here that they're not letting us know. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because if it was, let's say it is I don't know, what would you speculate? I'm talking too much. What would you speculate, Frank? Is it a portal? Is it what do you think this might be? Franklin Pierce. Okay, I'll just keep talking. But you get my point, right? So you end up in this situation where we are, I don't know, in the dark again, right? There's some claims by some people, and you can say some people are crazy, but you can't say all the people are crazy. When we end up in that situation, and here we are looking at that, because I think that's the thing that made me initially think that, okay, there must be something to the UFO bit, because you can't actually say with like a sweeping magic wand, this person and all of these people are all nuts, right? It just seems, it's like, wait a minute, hold on. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me. So, yeah. All right, let's see what's up with Frank. Is Frank still there? Is Frank off? Frank's offline, maybe. All right. So anyway, so there we go. So there's a third hole apparently that appears. Let's read some comments here. Thanks, John. What's up? Says good show. Sherry says it's the alien and what they did with the missing man. Mel, right? So we'll get to that eventually, of course. We'll do a part 3 if necessary, but there we go. And then yeah, Sherry agrees. Apache never know. I believe the native. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So a lot of the situations, right, where they, like I mentioned the reservations, and they have their own hierarchy of things and the way they handle things. And there have been a lot of UFO, like, I'm pretty sure, on Ancient Aliens, there's like Indian reservation UFO sightings, and there's a bunch of that, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Okay. So we're, I guess we're at the end here. I don't know if Frank disconnected or what, but you got me.
Yeah, my internet just died suspiciously. That was very weird. Anyway, we're at the end here, and the question remains, what happened to Mel? Where did Mel go? Why have we never heard from him since? What happened to his wife? I don't think we'll ever have the answer. So maybe this was a prank call. Who knows? But I'd love to find out.
Yeah, that's a ton of Frank. I say Frank. Prank calls. That's a ton of prank calls, because this went on for years, right? And so this guy has like a pretty long story to tell. And if there's any sort of evidence, well, I mean, it's impossible to track it down, because here we are, right? You go to look to the sources, and nobody gives you answers, and the YouTube videos have been taken down, and here we are, just like Frank said in the very beginning. Like, this is why we're doing this. We kind of want to preserve this, because this may be an important thing. Maybe this is the Einstein-Rosen bridge that has been talked about for decades. And maybe this is how we get to other parts of the universe quickly. And maybe maybe this is oddly connected to ATIP. Maybe this is how the UFOs are coming from wherever they're coming from, right? Like, who knows, man? Like, this is the crazy part. So anyway, all right. So yeah.
And more importantly, let's find out. Let's actually go to these. Let's get this out in the public, because 10 years from now, 15 years from now, this story will be dead. It'll be dead and in its grave. All the YouTube clips, our clips, everyone's clips, it'll all be gone. No one will remember. It will die with us. And maybe that's what they want. Just let this stuff slowly rust away into nothing. They don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think you may be right. We're in that situation where you notice, as history progresses, as time progresses, and history kind of fades into the background, we get to choose which part of history we want to communicate to the next generation. And again, it's part of censorship. It's part of the government kind of rewriting the way things are and the way they want us to believe in the future. And this is literally 1984 shit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, George Orwell, 1984. If you haven't read that, read it, please. It's short. It will take you less than a week if you spend an hour or so a day, and you will see what we're talking about. This is terrifying. And if this is an actual thing, and they're telling us one way or the other that the things we believe and the things we see and the things that they can't explain, we don't need to talk about. We can't talk about. Yeah, it's not a world I want to be in, you know. So I think we need to, again, back to Hong Kong, and they're taken to the streets by the hundreds of thousands. I think that's a situation we need to be in. And no violence, please. Don't hurt anybody. Don't punch a Nazi, a perceived Nazi. That's the important term. Don't do it. Like if you take to the streets peacefully, which again in the United States is our right, we can protest peacefully. Maybe we can change things. Anyway, whatever. There we go. There's my 4th of July rant for now. How are we looking, Frank?
Yeah, that's the show. So, Mel, if you're out there, please call in. Please call in to someone. Give us an update. We're desperate for it. I don't know. That's the show. There is a third hole. We'll cover that sometime. Mel's not involved, unfortunately. I think they got to him. I think they got that dime after all that Basque Elder gave him. But that's it. That's the show. Hope you enjoyed it.
Get one after the dime. There we go. So, again, one more time, this is for posterity. Go back and listen. It's on the SoundCloud feed. You can, if you missed episode 1, check it out. This is episode 2 of Mel's Hole. All right, and here we go. Frank gets the Todd outro. What's up, Todd? How you doing, buddy? Action. All right, so this Troubled Minds. Tell them what this is all about, Frank.
Yeah, we'll keep digging into this stuff, these strange phenomena, strange places. Skinwalker Ranch, East Eddy Ranch, and now Mel's Hole. I'm sure there's other places all over the world. There's one up in Manitoba. That's where the third hole is, up in Canada. But these strange places, I wonder if Area 51 is almost a hoax. focus all the attention on Area 51 and the stuff elsewhere goes unnoticed. This is the kind of thing you got to think about. Maybe everyone's lying to you. I don't know. Maybe I'm lying to you. Yeah, something to think about.
Exactly. Like that was never the intention, right? So, but we can say it 1,000 times. We're not trying to lie to you here. We're just trying to look at the stuff and maybe figure some shit out. That's it, period. And we're hoping you'll be a part of that. But if you think we're lying, fine. Like, we are still people, and we still say words. And people that say words, you should consider might be lying to you. So that includes us. And we're here doing the thing we do as honestly as we can. And, we squeak some corners here or there to try and maybe make the story sound right. But I'm telling you, think for yourself. This isn't about me. This isn't about Frank. Ultimately, this is about you. Thanks for listening. This is Troubled Minds Radio. And I'm your host, Michael Strange. I'm here with your co-host, the incomparable Frank Pierce. And from our troubled minds to yours, spread the word, please. Go to troubledminds.org. Shameless plug. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell your enemies. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.